I'ma make you mine tonight, pulling your hair, baby. I feel you breathing on me, on you. You know that I'm a selfish lover. When it's mine, I want it. One track mind for it, for you. I don't think I can let you go. I don't think I can let you go. Bet you love me before I go. Bet you love me before I go. I don't think I can let you go. I don't think I can let you go. Bet you love me before I go. Bet you love me before I go. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need, baby. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me everything, yeah. Do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Party's never over for me. My favorite Toy Story. Bo Peep is chasing me. Woody, let me be a fantasy. Swiss Army King, they call me. Come find the key, baby, baby. I don't think I can let you go. I don't think I can let you go. Bet you love me before I go. Bet you love me before I go. I don't think I can let you go. I don't think I can let you go. Bet you love me before I go. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need, babe. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me everything, yeah. Do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Tell me what you need, baby. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need, babe. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me everything, yeah. Do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. I'll do it, I'll do it. Do it, I'll do it. I don't think I can let you go. I don't think I can let you go. Bet you love me before I go. Please love me. Oh, I don't think I can let you go. Bet you love me before I go. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need, babe. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me everything, yeah. Do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need, baby. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me everything, yeah. Do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it.
Never understand the things that we want. Why do you keep coming back? I want love you don't know. So why are you here? Yeah, I should take it back so that you don't know where my heart is at. Don't want you to know my love is all Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Yeah, don't call me back, just say goodbye. I can't change the past, don't wanna complicate things. Maybe if I asked, was any of it real? Was it real? There's only one thing left to do. My heart is breaking on you, so I'll say goodbye. Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say goodbye. There's only one thing. Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Yeah, I'll say goodbye. Don't call me back, just say goodbye. Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say goodbye. You know it's creeping up on me. This frostbite gets deep into my bloodstream. Just trying to make the most of it. Babe, I miss your body. You make some kind of fire within me. It's almost like it's burning through my skin. Make myself feel warmer when you're near. Whenever you're near, come close. 'Cause I wanna be by your side. Wanna be by your side. Come close. Get under my skin, give me a piece of your mind. Just for a while, stay by my side. I'm hoping for some brighter days. 'Cause I'm falling in the snow, it's getting knee deep. You make some kind of fire within me. It's almost like it's burning through my skin. Make myself feel warmer when you're near. Whenever you're near, come close. 'Cause I wanna be by your side. Wanna be by your side. Come close. Get under my skin, give me a piece of your mind. Just for a while, stay by my side. November gets cold, December gets darker. Let me know when you're home, 'cause you're lighting a spark in me. It's pretty lonely, I get so lonely. So stay by my side, come close. 'Cause I wanna be by your side. Wanna be by your side. Come close. Get under my skin, give me a piece of your mind. Just for a while, stay by my side. Side, wanna be by your side. Just for a while, stay by my side. with your friends, chilling. Day and night for days on end. Now you can't come see me tonight. Say you ain't got the time. I'm the last one you prioritize. Beeping your IG pictures on my phone. I won't spend another night at home. Okay, I'ma just be on my way. You'll see I'm not the one you take for granted, babe. I know that life can be busy, love, but you make time for the ones you love. It's only right, it's what I deserve. Love, tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Did your mind go on vacation, leaving your affection for me at home? Tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Where's your heart and your attention? Where's the kind of love that I used to know? Baby, so can you take me on a date? The simple things you do to make me stay. Now it's like you don't even try. I used to wonder why, but now I'm left with no more tears to cry. I know that life can be busy, love, but you make time for the ones you love. It's only right, it's what I deserve. Love, tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Did your mind go on vacation, leaving your affection for me at home? Tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Where's your heart and your attention? Where's the kind of love that I used to know? If you want me the way I want you, put your all into all that you do. It's only right, it's what I deserve. Love, tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Did your mind go on vacation, leaving your affection for me at home? Tell me what you done for me, done for me, done for me, done for me lately. Where's your heart and your attention? Where's the kind of love that I used to know?
Say that you will change the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you wear your hair. Change the way you dress, the way you kiss, everything, 'cause you are scared that I might leave you. Why should I leave you? Baby, please, don't talk to me that way. 'Cause I think you're perfect for me, just the way you are. And I don't ever want to leave you. Baby, don't you talk to me that way. Yeah, And I'm sorry if I sound a little harsh, but I don't know how to get through to you. Because you don't seem to know that you are everything a girl could dream of. Baby, won't you hear me? Don't talk to me that way.
to me that way. 'Cause I think you're perfect for me, just the way you are. And I don't ever want to leave you. Baby, don't you talk to me that way. Just pulled up to the house, don't feel like getting out. I'ma just lay back and crack this window. I've been doing my best, taking a moment to rest, feeling stressed out. Give it a cut, I put that on God when it gets hard. I stay on my job like no days off, so you can go home. With that mentality, jump on jealousy, my bad.
All right. Hot mics in 30 seconds.
Catch a break, give a pretty brown girl her space.
Yeah.
You can keep
The basement.
I'ma
Basement.
make a better way. Hey, hey. Already got the world on me. Give a pretty brown girl her space. You can keep your winner. I'ma
Or
make
I
a
stayed in the
better
bathroom.
way.
No, go in the bathroom. I'll bring a chair.
Mom and Dad's only daughter, do I make you proud? Writing my life in lyrics, do you like the sound? Seeking approval constantly. When it's my truth I own, I speak it, don't make sense now. Give it a cut, yeah. Put that on good when it gets hard. Stay on my job like no days off, so you can go home. Jump on my bed. I've been working all day.
All right. Hot mics.
Give a pretty brown
Hot mics.
you can keep your bitter. I'ma make a better way. I've been working all day. Can I catch a break? Give a pretty brown girl.
All right. All right. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of AK on Fire. We're going to have a pretty good one for you today. Today's show is going to be a follow-up of our gender wars session. 2 weeks ago, we had the gentlemen of the panel, and they took questions from the ladies, and today it's the sisters' turn to reciprocate, responding not only to some of the responses from the brothers, but some of their questions as well. To my right, I'll introduce the panelists in sequential order. To my right is Ma'at. She is the host of the Ma'at Speak channel on YouTube. Ma'at. Next to her, we have one half of the dynamic duo, which is Miss Q and Ebbs. That's the official Q Barnes. We have Q Barnes because we didn't want to put too much in the lower third. Hanifa is running a little behind, but you have Hanifa Laila or Hanifa George, who is the host of the Hanifa Laila channel on YouTube. Next up, we have Miss Ebbs. Again, second half of the dynamic duo. And finally, we have the Doctor of Peaches, the Peach Doctor, Doc. Please wave. Okay, so I know you all got a chance to take a look at obviously many of you were in the chat, and some of you had questions. And last week when I posed the question, 2 weeks ago when I posed the question to the brothers, and I asked them, are we too far gone in this gender war? Pretty much everyone to a man said that we were too far gone in this thing. And I was hoping that we would have a little bit of a more optimistic response, but that wasn't the case. So today I want to begin with asking you a similar question, not exactly the same question, but the question is, when will this gender war ever end? What is it going to take for sisters to end this beef? I'll start with you, Doc.
So, well, I think, will this gender war ever end? It all depends on the mindset of people. So once mindset shift, then I think that it can end once we can get over some of our woes. I think that we could possibly get to that place. Will it ever really, really, really end? I don't think so. But it's possible, because anything is possible. It's just all about how we handle ourselves as adults, as males, females, however you.
So you two are saying that it's you don't know if it's possible. You sounded like the brothers. I was hoping that I would get a little bit more optimism from the sisters, but okay, it seems like we're off to a similar start here. Miss Ebbs, what say you?
I'm hopeful. I think I'm sorry, I'm hearing feedback from Kiana because we're near each other. Mm-hmm. I think it requires people realizing that people are people, mm-hmm. and that regardless of gender, I say this every week when I'm on here, we have way more in common than we do not. And so when we learn how to respect each other, instead of putting each other in these little male-female boxes, when sometimes energy is just energy and people are people and responses are responses, maybe we'll get somewhere. It requires listening too, like not listening to respond, but listening to comprehend. So I'm hopeful.
Good thoughts.
I may not sound that hopeful, but
well, I mean, you show me glimpses of optimism in the past, so I'll accept that. Q, or are you stepping away? Okay, so Q, what say you? What's it going to take for you sisters to end this beef? Because I'm not hearing any of you responding to that. What's it going to take for y'all to end this beef between men and women?
It's interesting that you are asking what is it going to take for us to end it. And I honestly, from my heart, want to say, I don't believe we started it.
That's not what the brothers are saying.
I know what they're saying, but I don't believe we were the ones that told women from the beginning that we were inferior and that we deserved to be paid less and that we needed to prove to you all that we were just as intelligent and needed a right to vote. I don't think we did that to ourselves. I really just don't think that we put all of these limitations upon our own gender. So I don't know why we are being asked to solve something that we did not create. But it would take listening to comprehend, not listening to respond. And it would take seeing us in all of our beautiful glory and what we bring and how we actually add to this society, how we actually matter, how we actually birth the men that made these rules that put us in this fictional place. I don't know the answer to what it's going to take for us to end a war that we did not wage. We just didn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it seems like the brothers believe that you started it, that sister started it, and the sisters, it seems like you believe that we, the brothers, started it.
I just factually gave you proof of the systematic placements that were put on women because of our gender. Oh my goodness, Roe versus Wade just happened because a bunch of men think that we shouldn't have the right to do what we want to do with our bodies. That's my personal opinion. But we didn't do this to ourselves. And I understand what you're saying, the brothers believe, but the brothers also have to believe those boundaries that were created by men for us.
Okay.
Factually, that's what happened.
All right. Ma'at, what are we gonna do, man? Are we gonna be able to wave the white flags and put the guns down and embrace each other and end this 50-year beef? Because between black men and black women, it's been about 50 years since late 60s, early 70s. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I come at this a little differently because I don't participate in gender wars. I see the black man and the black woman being one and united. But in a war, I think we always have to look at also there are people who infiltrate. So there are people who are going to come in who don't look like us and throw things in there to infiltrate what is happening. So when either side says the black man started this or the black woman started this, and anytime I use woman or man, I'm talking about black people because that's my paradigm. That's who I'm talking about. That's the people that I care most about because that's what I see when I look in the mirror. And that's what I see in my children and my husband and, whatever, my family. That's what I look at. So anytime I say man or woman, that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, when it comes to the black man or the black woman pointing fingers, we have to understand that it didn't quite start with either one of us. It started with the white supremacy ideology. It started with that. It started with that's kind of the root of it, and we are perpetuating it. So when we are constantly like pointing fingers, we have to understand that system. We have to understand imperialism. We have to understand everything that stems from that. And that is what it is. So when we talk about our minds are not really our own because we are perpetuating that Eurocentric, that white ideology onto one another. And I know we're going to kind of tackle some of the things that come from that when you even talk about different roles or traditional roles and things like that, and what we actually value. So our values system, we first have to understand what we value, why we value it. And if we value the Black man and the Black woman, we have to also value the strengths and what we both bring to the family unit and to the community. So I do think that we can get past this. And as a Black woman, what do I say is my role in that? I don't participate in it, period. You know, I tell my kids all the time, when two people are arguing, two people have to be arguing for it to be an argument. I can choose to not participate in that. And so what do I do? For me, I have to also teach, you know, we have to teach our boys and our girls the value. So you don't just teach the little girl the value of a woman. You also teach the little boys the value of the woman. You don't only teach womb health to the little girls, you also teach womb health to the little boys. You know, so there's a lot of things that we have to do in order to get this thing on track. And that starts with teaching the children in our home, but also we have to educate one another, and we have to take accountability on both sides. You know, if I constantly say, you're the reason you started this, at this point, does it matter who started it? It just matters who's going to start healing, who's going to start wanting to go through the process of getting this thing back on track.
Right. I have a picture that I want to share with you, and please let me explain before you get worked up. Okay, so right in this picture, right, what you see is a woman on her knees serving a dish to her husband. I thought you had a reaction there, Ms. Ebbs. But she's serving food to her husband, and she's presenting it on her knees, right? And obviously, this is a cultural thing. And the reason why I'm showing you this picture is because oftentimes what brothers are asking for from sisters is cooperation and to be submissive. Now, when brothers are talking about being submissive, this is not what they have in mind. However, this is the image that is evoked when sisters hear that word, being submissive. So the question that I want to ask to the ladies of the panel is, what is it about that word submissive that is so triggering? Miss Ebbs, I'll start with you.
The word submissive isn't triggering to me. I do believe that both people in a relationship have to be submissive to each other. It's all about respect. But in the context in which you're asking the question, the response comes from the fact that the submission is believed to only be one way. And it turns into obey me like a child, like Ray was saying the other week. And it's offensive. But the word itself doesn't trigger me. And I just think it's not a problem when you are with someone who respects you and is a good leader and thinks of you and makes sure to include you in the process, because there's proper communication going on there.
Right. Ma'ad, what about this word submissive do you think causes so much consternation, which causes women to get a little, sisters to get a little bit annoyed?
Well, I personally don't like the word submission. And I don't like the word submission because I believe words have power, words have meaning. So I did a live on submission with a group of ladies before, and I look at, the etymology of words. And when you look at the word submission and the etymology of it, it comes from, Old French, from late 14th century. It says this is a lowering, a letting down, sinking to let down, put down, lower, reduce, or yield. So to reduce yourself and to yield to the will of authority of a superior force. So I have an issue with those particular words. Now, when we talk about submission and how we speak about it, I agree that we both, if you're in a relationship, you do in essence submit one to another. Just like you will submit to your child sometimes when they request something or they need something. So I think it's more of what the word actually represents and how it's being used. So from my standpoint, it's more of what brings balance to that family as opposed to someone reigning over another. So if we want to talk about a man leading in the home, that's a different, we can talk about that. We can kind of talk about that as opposed to always telling women that they need to submit. Because if we're really being honest, everyone is, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, yielding or submitting to another person or to another force at times. So, men are also at times are going to be submissive. So there's an issue with always telling women to be submissive when it's more about how do we bring balance and how do we complement one another? How can we be complementary to one another as opposed to telling women, and we're telling women this, men are telling women to be submissive because they do think that they're the lesser, or when they're having these conversations, they're thinking they're lesser, they're thinking they're weaker. That's the conversation that's being had. We're not really having the conversation of how we can complement one another, how we can bring balance into the home. It's a very one-sided conversation. And that's what I have an issue with when it comes to the word submission.
Doc, why won't you submit to a man?
Well, first of all, your question of why won't I submit to a man is, first of all, that's just disrespectful in itself, the way you just brought that on to me. I do agree with Mayat that it can be, it has a negative connotation. It's the negative tone to the word submission, and when it's used, it's also used to put a woman in their place and say that this is what you're supposed to do as a woman, as we are viewed as the weaker or the weaker vessel, the weaker part in this unity of whatever we have. And so I have a problem. I have a problem with the word as well. I think my view when it comes to relationships, marriage, friendships, it's not a one-way street. Mm-hmm. And I think oftentimes that men always think that, oh, you're a woman, so you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to be submissive, and you're supposed to act this certain way, and you're supposed to get down on your knees and feed me and bring me food, and it's all this catering to you. But there's a time and a place where a man should also be submissive as well. And I don't think that if it's looked at and viewed as a partnership, mm-hmm. If we're in this together and you're saying we're in it together, then treat me as I am of equal. And I'm not saying that, the roles and responsibilities of what I also feel that a woman can do. versus what men do. I don't have a problem with any of those gender roles and responsibilities, but don't use this to abuse me. Don't use this to demean me. That's where I have a problem. So it's not about whether or not I'll submit to a man, because I believe in every aspect, as it was said earlier, that we are in a place where we do have to be submissive to another power, another being, or whatever the case may be. And I think that's for everybody. It's not just for a woman.
Okay. And, yeah, I agree. Good words. Q, what's your issue with submission?
I'm going to start off by saying cosign, right? Cosign and cosign. It's already been said. I don't have an issue with submission. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why men think that we have an issue with submission. No, the issue is when it is abused and used to put me in a place. The issue is when you do not appreciate what I bring, which is equal to what you bring, because we complement each other. The issue is when you believe that you rescued me from something, so therefore I need to be so grateful as to bow at your feet, because you don't see that I too, you don't see the value. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a problem with the word submission. I have a problem with not being valued. I have a problem with there being a lack of respect. And then a lack of respect, and then it being labeled as a lack of submission. Because, as has already been stated, everyone has to submit at some point to a higher power, be it to your spouse, as we're talking about in this case, be it to your job. If men say that women should stay home and be the nurturers, well, isn't it fair to say then you should also submit to our lead when it comes to rearing the children? I mean, I don't understand why submission is being said that we have a problem with the word. No, it's not a problem with the word. We have a problem with the actions and the misunderstandings and the misconceptions and the abuse that is followed by the misunderstanding of what true submission is. Because submission comes naturally from one part to another when there is respect, when there is love, when there is partnership. Oh, baby, I love to submit to a man who I know is my A1 ride or die. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't I? He gonna look out.
Well, what do you make?
So no, we don't have a problem with submission. We have a problem with the behaviors when people don't understand how submission works.
Real quick, give me your elevated answer before I go on to Hanifa. What do you make of those sisters who make their submissiveness conditional? You know, I'll be submissive if the man makes a certain amount of money, or he has to be like a high value man, and then I'll be submissive. Give me your short answer before I move on to Hanifa.
My short answer is that's their journey, and they need to go figure that out. It's not mine. I can't speak for another woman. I promise you I cannot. That's my short answer, because I don't share those values. Mm-hmm. So my short answer is if someone is on that journey and that's what they believe.
That's what they believe.
I don't share those values, because I don't think submission is a conditional thing as far as it relates to income. I think submission comes naturally when there is mutual respect, when there is partnership, when there is love and commitment, understanding. I don't think it's based on financial, because I don't know how finances can keep someone feeling good beyond, okay, I got a brand new rock today. I mean, just. Right.
Hanifa, let me catch you up because you're just coming in. So in the segment we were talking about the images that are evoked when the word submission comes up. So this is the photo. It's a photo of a woman serving her husband food while she's on her knees as he's holding their baby. Now, this is the image that a lot of sisters come away with when men talk about they want their women to be cooperative and submissive, and by and large, that's not what most brothers are saying. They just want somebody to allow the man to lead without the back and forth. Now, mind you, I know a lot of brothers who wouldn't mind if sisters would get halfway there. I mean, just maybe fixing a plate every now and then, but not to this extent. What's your thought on why that word submission triggers some sisters?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, my apologies for being late. I am going to say, and peace to all the beautiful sisters on the panel as well. Just wanted to make sure I greet you guys. I think the submission conversation, Abe, is one that, like when someone is saying, oh, I need you to do this, or I need you to do that, and then they give you an example of what that thing is, because maybe you're like, well, what does that mean? And they give you an example and you're like, oh, that's what you want me to do. I think that is what's happening with the word submission, to be honest. You have the word, and then you have not the definition, but the picture or the imagery of the word that some of our men are asking for. Right? They're asking for women to be subservient, but it's subservience in a very lowly minimizing of the woman's power, viewing her difference in functionality as being beneath them. Like when you ask men what that means, I think a lot of women are like, wait, hold up. But submission is there. It's not going anywhere. It has always been. We probably never felt the need to define it so much as we do now. And a lot of the conversations that's being had around submission is very much connected to the so-called manosphere talking points. And we all know how, the manosphere feel. I don't want to say about women. I'm going to go ahead and say about particularly Black women. Mm-hmm. I think that is the issue that a lot of sisters are having with this particular conversation. Or this particular topic of submission. Me, myself, I tell people the submission conversation is beneath me. I'm just being very honest. It is not one that I engage in my own household. It is just a low vibrational conversation, in my opinion. I think that it is for people who exist in a certain paradigm that don't understand mutual respect. Because at the end of the day, when there is mutual respect, there is mutual submission, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. There is not a whole lot of ego and macho, I'm the man, I have the phallus, and therefore I am in charge, There's not a whole lot of that. There's a man respecting the function, right, and the strength and what that woman brings to the table. And then there's a woman returning that reciprocity, right, and harmony. That is pretty much my act. Okay. And so I don't like to have the conversation because oftentimes it is people who are existing within, usually I'm going to say Abrahamic religions, but I'm going to go ahead and just say Christian. They're existing in a Christian paradigm, and I do not subscribe to that. So therefore, I don't feel the need to have the conversation. The person that I am connected to, that I am coupled with, these are not conversations we need to have. And both of us feel very respected in the relationship. I think that as Black people, we've adopted a very foreign way of thinking. We think because two things are different, now we have to create this hierarchy between them. And it's not necessarily that. It just means that they have different functions. And when you bring those two functions together, it gives you a whole picture. We are getting caught up in the comparison and the competing versus us harmonizing. That's what's happening between Black men and Black women. It's a competition. It's well, you have muscles and I do not, so therefore you are to lead. But then you have a situation where somebody needs to step up because the finances are in whack. In that moment, that man, if he do not know how to handle those finances, he has to submit to his wife's knowledge around finances. Same thing with the woman. When you call him to come and pick that heavy box up, you can go there all macho all you want, or to push your car or whatever it is. You could be like, yeah, I got this, I'm independent. As you realize you can't, you have to submit to the strength of your man and call him and say, I need help. That is submission. So we are constantly doing it between each other when we're coupled with people, whether we accept it or not. I think that we are getting distracted in, well, Black women need to act this way, so that Black men could what, be better leaders, or what I'm saying? It's just a lot of like unnecessary. I think we are not talking about the right things. I think if we do certain things the way that we're supposed to, this topic is a non-issue because it's going to naturally flow. We need to focus on loving ourselves and then also loving each other, because here's the thing. If I love you, I am going to respect you. And if I respect you, wherever that point comes that I have to submit, I will do so with respect and with honor and with grace. It doesn't matter. So that's my take on it.
Are we done? Do we need to say anything else?
Hold on. I want to.
Amazing. Like, do we need to say anything else? Did you get it? Or is it finished or is it done?
All the things.
Hanifa, I'm coming back to you. We're gonna watch. We're gonna watch a quick clip from the brothers last week, and hear what Ray had to say. Our brother Ray had to say about hair weave and protective styles and et cetera, et cetera. Let's take a look at see what he had to say.
I would prefer for you to wear something that looks like yourself. Black features look better on Black people. A black nose looks better on a Black person. Black hair looks better on a Black person. Look at my beard. It's Black beard. It's a foot long, but it looked like it's 2 inches long. It's Black hair. It looks better on a Black person. If I take a white girl and I put a Black nose on her, she'll look like a bumbling idiot, won't she? She'll look like an idiot if she wore that. That's exactly what Black women do. I will argue the exact opposite. You're covering up the most beautiful features in the world because you think that this looks better, or the most common law that I hear, the more common lie that I hear is it's convenient, it's a protective feature. It's easier to take care of it. Those are all lies. You don't cover up something attractive. You don't cover up something that's attractive with something less attractive unless you think that thing that's less attractive is attractive. The reason why you put that on top of your head because you think it's more beautiful than what you grow. You're the one that hate Black women. I'm telling you that I like your Blackness.
So wait a minute. So you're saying that they got this backwards. That it's Black men that love Black women, and it's Black women that don't like Black women. Is that what you're saying?
That's what men been saying forever. Hold on. Let me say this. Weave, lace fronts, sew-ins, them dumb badass eyelashes. That's a form of self-hate. Black women hate themselves.
Oh, all right. Q. I mean, our brother Ray, he said a mouthful.
Yeah, I want to know when the last time Ray was in a hair salon for 3 and 4 hours waiting to get dried, trying to get. I want to know when the last time Ray made an appointment at a hair salon just because, I need to get my retwist or whatever. And he done got there on time, only to wait a half an hour. I wonder when the last time he done packed a bag lunch to go to anybody's salon. I just want to know, because protective styles really are a thing. They really are a thing. Like, I don't know, like, when was the last time he was a woman with hair that needed to be? When was the last time that he was a woman with a head full of hair and 6 children in school that got to get up at 8 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and run a business, and she don't want to spend a half an hour in her hair just to look? When? Maybe I'm not as skilled as Mayat to do a beautiful head wrap. Maybe it doesn't fit my life. Maybe the easiest thing for me is to get some cornrows and do some crochet braids and I can rock a style that I don't have to mess with every single day. Meanwhile, my natural mane is grown. And I do wear my natural mane. Who is he to say it's not a protective style? I'm just curious. Does he know how chlorine water affects Black women's hair and you know, and how we actually enjoy getting in the water and getting our hair wet. Does he know what happens when a Black woman gets her hair wet? You know, in the summer, we like to feel the tingling of the water. I'm just wondering, who is he to tell us it's not a protective style? Who is he to tell us that it's self-hate? I'm not saying that there isn't credence, that there are some women that have some issues. I'm not saying that that isn't a thing. I know that that is a thing. We know that there are extremes and that there are people, not just Black women, but there are people who cosmetically cover up because they're hurting. That is a thing. But to label it as Black women hate themselves because they wear protective styles and because he doesn't understand that protective styles are a thing, he gonna need to have a vagina for me to have this conversation. I'm sorry.
Hanifa, I'm coming back to you. I should have started this one with you. And what did you think when you heard Ray going on his epic rant?
First of all, I think Q is so done with them. This is like, oh, you're giving me a headache. I got it. It's a very multi-layered conversation because to be honest, first of all, I tread cautiously. I've been bald for a very, very long time. And so I tread cautiously with this. When I wasn't bald, I wore my hair natural. I've had locks. I've always preferred to wear natural hairstyles. It doesn't mean that I didn't have a perm. I had a perm before. I think may have had like a sew-in one time, but that is not my preference, right? I like to be in more of a natural state if possible, and that's in general in my life. I just want to put that out there. Mm-hmm. I think it is a multi-layered conversation. I think it's a nuanced conversation. I don't think it's so black and white. And oftentimes what triggers a lot of us is because the men, and I know men, the masculine represents almost like logic, right? And so when they talk about this, they talk about this in a very black and white manner. And I just don't think it's always that simple, right? And I think it differs from woman to woman. Yes, there are women who do what he says because they have insecurities. They exist. They absolutely exist. I am not going to sit here and I love my sisters. I'm not going to sit here and say, no, none of them are doing this. Absolutely, they're there. I know women who can't even go grocery shopping without makeup on their face. Okay? I know women whose husbands don't even know what their natural hair looks like. And I'm talking about natural texture. I know women who don't even know what their natural texture looks like. And when I say that, I mean they've had a perm since the elementary school grade, right? Mm. So those things do exist. I just don't think the conversation is as black and white. I think people wear their hair. I know I have friends who likes to switch up their hairstyles. They're natural, but they might put in braids. They might, maybe someone might put in like a little weave or wigs. Wigs are the big thing now. So I get that. I don't know that I would chuck it to self-hate off the bat. I don't know that I would just jump there and say, you hate yourself because you're wearing your hair like that. I'm not sure I would do that because I know people who are in their natural hair state and they absolutely have insecurities as well. So it's not as simple. I think Ray have oversimplified it in that clip, as most men do. And I think a part of it is that a lot of our men, they cut their hair so they don't have to deal with their natural texture hair. That's a whole other conversation. They're not wearing afros like some of the brothers back in the day where they actually have to take care of their own hair. And so they might have the same texture of a Miss Peach or Ma'at or someone, but they don't have to deal with what comes along with having that texture hair. They have no clue. Okay, because they just go in a barber seat and sit down. So I want to put that into perspective as well. But one of the things that I do want to say from my observation, whether it be online, in my real life, our brothers are dishonest about the natural hair conversation. Oh. When they say natural, they are talking about those racially ambiguous women. I'm being very honest. They're talking about a certain hair texture. Okay, I do not know the chart, but I can tell you what it's not. It's definitely not 4C hair. That is not what these brothers are talking about. And that's the part of the conversation that frustrates me, because when you talk that and you know how I know this? There are women who wear their 4C hair out, and brothers diss them. They be like, yo, like, aren't you gonna do something with that?
Wow.
We are Black women. Most of us
Brothers don't do that.
Oh, yes, they do.
No.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
we are
they
Black
do.
women. Most of us.
Okay, wait a minute.
I'm a witness to that.
Maybe in the 1980s. But I mean, but nowadays, no,
AK.
You're not about to play those.
Stop your mess.
No,
Stop your mess.
do that.
I don't. Oh, wait.
Stop your mess, AK.
Stop it. We're not gonna let you ride with that.
I don't know too many brothers.
You don't know. That's it.
No.
That's the end. Start there. Stop there.
I don't know. If brothers are out there in the chat, can you please let me know if you are good with that 4C texture out, big afro puffs? If you're good with that, dreadlocks, put a 1 in the chat if you agree with that.
No, hey, but not dreadlocks.
They have to know
what I'm saying
is. They would have to know what that is first. First, you need knowledge before you have wisdom, and there's just a lot of talking that goes on about this with no knowledge and no wisdoms, just yip yapping. it's ridiculous. So the question won't get an answer unless the guy is a hairstylist.
Well, for those who don't know what 4C hair is, I'm going to say this. As the men, the woman, you see a Black woman with the kinkiest hair. I mean, she just stepped out in the sun and all of a sudden, what they call the kitchen, her kitchen is showing. And it never looks like her hair is like quite done. Like I'm talking about those type texture hair. So when our men are talking about, not all our men, but a lot of the men that have strong opinions about this, their assumption is that all Black women can do a wash and go. And that is not a fact. It is not true. We cannot just wash our hair and walk outside. No, we can. Let me put that. We can if we want to. But that's not what they're looking for. And that's the dishonesty in the conversation that I don't like. And maybe they need to, I don't know. Not all, because there are some Black men just like, look, give me a natural all day. I don't care.
Yeah,
but they are not the majority. If we're being honest.
Because and let me go over to Doc with this one. But the brothers I know, they're okay with some BDBs. Like if they rub, they don't like. They're okay with the wigs sometimes. Right, but I think the problem is when the weave and the wigs and the excessive makeup and the long eyelashes become an extension of yourself. I think that's when brothers have a problem.
So you gonna let me go, AK?
Yeah, this is your time to rock.
Because I almost wanted to ask you to replay Ray's clip, but I'm not. He said a few things. He talked about self-hate. He talked about weave. He talked about eyelashes and so on, and what's not attractive. So my question back to Ray and others who are, even the ladies on the panel, even you, AK, since you're the moderator, as well as those in the chat. So what do you Black men define as attractive? Because I'm going to tell you what we see that you all define as attractive. And that is that your hair has to be a certain way. So I'm speaking from someone who went from perm to wearing my natural hair years ago. I started it in 2008, wearing my natural hair. And I remember my boyfriend at the time saying, like, you need to do something with your hair. Why don't you go get it braided? Why don't you go do this? Or why don't you go do that? I had family members checking me on my hair like, dang, like you gonna comb your hair, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, y'all say you want us in our natural state. You say you want us to do this, you want us to do that. I even know women, which I have to say that we are also a part of this problem. We are a part of this problem as well, because we have allowed this, we fostered this way of thinking and allowed Black men to project what they feel and what they want on us. And we have to respond that certain way. And I disagree with that. For example, like you talked about, I'm not one to wear lashes and all that stuff like that. I don't like it. It's not my thing. Yes, my next sister, if you want to put lashes on your face and have them looking like windshield wipers, that's your thing. That's what you define. That's what you feel you want to wear. For some, it's all about their fashion. For some, it's about beauty for them. It's what they feel will make them even prettier or even more presentable. Even the ladies who get up and you can't go outside without having a full face of makeup on, right? So like, again, I think that when he speaks about self-hate, I think there's it again, going back to Hanifa, there are layers to this. It's not just one-sided thing, right? So Ray has had a lot to say about what the woman's appearance, yet he is also a part of the problem.
Here's what let me pull up what Ray had to say about you.
You can run it back.
He said, I've been looking at Peach's hair the whole time because it's black and beautiful. So here you are bashing Ray, and Ray is praising and complimenting you.
No. That's not what we're gonna do. I see Ray's comment because I'm looking at it. So what we're not gonna do is talk about my hair, my natural hair, so on and so forth, right? So we're not gonna talk about it because that's not what I'm not the person that you're gonna use to get your point across. That's not gonna happen. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, you black men, you want to say what is attractive. Why don't what's attractive to you be attractive to you, and don't worry about what a woman is doing. Don't worry about how a woman is wearing her hair. Don't worry about how a woman is wearing her lashes. Some men love a woman in wigs. Some men that sits on your panel, they love it when their wife or their significant other switch that thing up. Right. Today their hair is blonde, tomorrow their hair is black. Oh, it's a short bob today, and then tomorrow it's long hair down to the floor. They like it.
But okay.
But you say they don't like it, but they do like it. And if they don't like it, then they are also a part of this problem, perpetuating that black women have self-hate because they look at other ways that they feel like they want to express themselves.
Okay, well then let me ask you this. Then, so.
Oh, and we're not. Can we get on these nails too? Because I think that's a part of this whole thing.
I see you choosing violence today.
I love it. I'm gonna choose violence because I don't appreciate it.
Hold on. So let me ask the question. Let me ask the question, Doc. So are black women who wear weave and excessive makeup,
watch yourself,
the long lashes, perpetuating a Eurocentric standard of beauty? Is this self-hate like Ray suggested, or is this just a harmless form of self-expression?
So I actually, to be honest with you, I think I think it's both. I think it's both. I think you have some women who are not satisfied with the way that they look, and so they see certain entertainers or certain people, that's wealthy and how they're living and what it's bringing and what their body is doing for them and what their look is doing for them. So they want to model that, right? And that means too, like they have that insecurity about themselves. That's why you have a lot of women, they going out getting BBLs and everything, because that's what you black men have perpetuated that you want. Y'all want women, small waist, big ass. That's what y'all been looking for. So that's what black women been going out doing to their bodies. Now, do I believe that's self-hate? I don't believe it's self-hate, but it's something there. It's something there. You're not satisfied with who you are inside or outside.
Right.
So it is something there. But do I call that self-hate? No, I don't. Because what you're dealing with on the inside, how you want to see yourself, that's you. And your decision. And it doesn't take for Ray or any other black man or man, period, to tell you what that's like. Because you're not me and you're not a woman. As my girl Q said, you don't have a vagina. I'm going on me.
So yeah. Like I said, you chose violence. you chose violence today. Hold
I have a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question as well.
Okay, hold on. Let me just set the order real quick. So when you're done, we'll keep your questions short because we have a lot of questions for you guys today. We'll go to Miss Ebbs. Ebb, you go next after I address their questions, and then you will close this segment out and start the very next question will be yours after that. Okay. So who I didn't catch who. Q, go ahead.
I just Had a very good question for Ray. I would want to know what would he say about a woman who maybe she at one point in time had really long hair, and then maybe medical conditions happened and she ended up balding on the side and she ended up cutting herself, and so she decided to wear protective styles to save the mane that she did have. What does he say to those conditions? You know, because there is this big emphasis on the mane and being natural. Well, what about those women who wore their hair natural once, really long, and now are wearing protective styles? I just wonder, has he ever thought about that instead of just enveloping everybody into, oh, we hate ourselves? There are conditions, and they don't all have to be self-hate.
Right. Right. Well, Ray's in the chat. I mean, Ray, you can go ahead and answer Sister Q. So I'll pull you up if I'll pull up your comment. Hanifa, your question.
Yes. So there were two things. Dr. Peach, she said something that I agree with. If our men are saying that they don't like these things, why give the woman who do these things so much attention? Why go after that? If you don't like if I don't like something, I'm not pursuing it. I don't like it. That's not my cup of tea. Why am I doing that? Right? So there's like a mixed kind of like messaging going on, because we are hearing what you're saying, but we're seeing even more what you're doing. We're paying attention to what you're doing. We're hearing you say one thing, but you're doing the next. But I will also say, though, to Black women, and this is where I might differ a little bit with Dr. Peach. If I am interested in Black men, and Black men as a collective, they're saying, we don't like women who get silicone in their booties, okay? At what point, if these are the men that we want to be coupled with, at what point do we actually start listening to what Black men are saying to desire? And I know, I just talked about the mixed message, because you're like, do you not desire that? Do you really not desire that? Because it seems like that's what you're pursuing. But also, for Black women, do we care what Black men think at all? Do we care what they desire? Do we care what they consider to be attractive? Do we care about that at all? That's just really my question.
Okay, let me segue over to Miss Ebbs, because I see you shaking your head.
I don't.
Now, how can you not? Okay, so here's the thing. You say you don't care what Black men want, and honestly, you know, a lot of brothers. Give me a second. A lot of brothers.
That's not exactly what I'm saying, but okay.
Well, okay. Well, what you're implying?
It's not Black men. It's just in general. I'm only one person. I'm only trying to attract things that I want. I say no to everything else. I'm a woman who really does love the versatility of however I choose to wear my hair. And since I'm skilled, one week it can be rainbow, the next week can look like this. Shout out to my mother for wearing it all. And shout out to me for making sure that my daughter chooses what she likes. On Monday, she wants an afro. On Tuesday, she wants rainbow hair down her back. She can have it. She has the confidence to do it because she knows it's about her. And so that's why I don't care about trying to attract Black men. I'm trying to attract something that's aligned with me. And so it's probably going to be a Black man who understands that I'm polyamorous and a hippie and spiritual and all of these things. And I swear to goodness, I'm not looking to please all of y'all, because just like Black women aren't monolithic, neither are men. If you don't like what I'm putting out there, don't be so entitled, because that's what it is, Hanifa. It's entitlement. I get to project my opinion of this onto you and be upset with you because you don't look like that, because I like you, but I want you to change. It's nutty. And it's like, hey, my mother kind of said a joke that disagrees with Ray. She said Rachel dolls all look better Black. So I don't know if Ray's absolutely correct on what he was saying, but Black people run the gamut. We come in all spectrums. We come in all hair colors. Come on. We don't come just 4C or 1A. We do it all. And so you can't put us in a box and generalize us like that with some silly opinion that was just the contrarian opinion because Ray's a contrarian. So I couldn't give it any more credence than to laugh at it when it was said. But it's dangerous because it's the message that's being put out there. And the message was, you hate yourself because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, but Miss come on, Ebony. Are you saying that there's absolutely no validity to what Ray is saying?
Oh, see, that's a real extreme right there. Everyone has spoken about the nuance of people with insecurities. And also, let me be clear about this. Black women aren't the only women who wear weaves. It runs the gamut. It really does. And so this isn't just a Black woman thing. This is a people thing. This is a woman thing. I'm choosing how I want to have my hair look full or pretty or whatever it is that people conform to when they don't have whatever it is you need to get there. My grandmother made sure I had black dolls first. Mm-hmm. And the one time my uncle tried to give me one that wasn't black, she told me it was light skinned because we run the gamut, because she wanted me to see images of me first so that I had that confidence. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is that isn't going on there, it's just dangerous messaging for Ray to decide that the Black women, like we're monolithic, hate ourselves. So I won't say no, there isn't some nuanced issue in some people who have insecurities going on, but I think that's the minority.
Okay. I'll accept that.
Allow minority because we it's a spectacle, but I don't think it's as loud as most of us walking down the street who aren't all glammed up. I hate the lashes too and all that other stuff too, by the way, but that's just me, so I don't wear it. And so I won't attract the men who likes women who wear lashes because I don't.
Right. Ma'at, the sisters touched on a lot. The question that I have a few questions for you before we go over to the next segment. These women who are getting BBLs and, the breast job, the excessive makeup, a lot of brothers are saying they don't like it. And what you hear some of the sisters saying is something similar to what Miss Ebbs is saying. Like, I don't care if you don't like it. I'm wearing it because I like it. But on the flip side, we hear women also say, well, why do you chase women who look like that? One, are these sisters sending, I think they're sending mixed messages, and they'll probably accuse brothers of sending mixed messages. But the deeper question, I wanted to ask, like I posed to Hanifa, was, are wearing these things, the excessive makeup, everything, a perpetuation of Eurocentric, of the Eurocentric standard of beauty in the Black community? Because you will acknowledge that we do have a Eurocentric standard of beauty, would you not?
Yeah, we definitely have a Eurocentric standard of beauty, because even when we look at natural, we tend to favor the ones that have a looser curl pattern. And even us who are natural, you go on your natural hair journey, you're like, sis, where did you get your hair care products? Or what are you using in your hair? Because you're trying to get your hair to look a certain way. You want it to have a certain curl. You want it to look more flowy. You want it to bounce and flow in the wind. All of those things that you're trying to get your hair to do, because we still have a sort of Eurocentric value, even when it comes to our natural state of being. And so what we do is we tend to go after things that are toxic for us, than going after things that are healing for us, that are healthy for us. And so the problem is more in what we actually value than what is actually, because what this conversation sounds a lot to me is the preference conversation. Well, it's my preference to wear my hair a certain way. It's my preference to wear makeup. And that's the same conversation that men have when they're talking about women and their preferences. Oh, I just prefer white women. I just prefer Latino women. When we all know that there's a certain level of conditioning that has happened to us as soon as we leave the womb, we are being conditioned by what we see. When we grow up in a society where you mostly see the standard of beauty being white women. And so the things that we start valuing about ourselves is just what society has deemed valuable now. So you now have women with big lips, right? And big butts and all those different kind of things that white women are trying to do. They're trying to be, they want the big lips, they want the big butt, they want the wide hips. And so what do we do? Things that we naturally can get on our own, we're going and we're getting surgery for them, even though as Black women, if you take care of yourself, if you eat the way that you're supposed to do, if you go to the gym, you're already going to have that. But they were the ones who were having to get the surgery for it. Black women naturally already have luscious lips. Mm-hmm. So we don't, but that's something that white society has valued, that has started valuing. And so now we value it too. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, when we have this conversation, we really have to really look at actually what we value and the reason why we even value it. A lot of it is just linked to physical. It's just linked to physicality, just the physical nature, and not to what is the purpose? What is the purpose of my natural hair? The purpose of my natural hair was to protect my scalp in the sun. That was the purpose of my natural hair. What was the purpose of my full lips? The purpose of my full lips was because I was in a climate where we ate a lot of fruit. You know, all of these things. What is the purpose of my skin being dark? And when I go out in the sun can absorb, my melanin can absorb the sun better. And that is actually healthy for me to be out in the sun. How many of us was told you get in too dark, you know, by whomever, your mothers, your grandmothers, whatever it may be. So, you know, a lot of it is we have adapted Eurocentric mindsets because that's the society that we live in. We don't live in a society that is just our own. Now, if we're still having these conversations in a society that is just our own, then we can start really attacking them. But until then, we have to understand the conditioning behind all the things that we do. Because at the end of the day, you're still putting things, and we can go, you know, sometimes I don't like having certain conversations because when we start saying, hey, sis, what you're putting in your head is toxic. And it might be aiding in you losing your hair or you getting alopecia or whatever those things may be. But then they say, oh, well, what you putting on your body, like the clothes, everything's toxic. When you breathe, the air is toxic. But you can aid in what you are putting on your body, in your body, that aids to the level of toxicity that you experience. So when it comes to, I want to touch on when it comes to men saying that they want certain things, you know, it's a certain type of men that want certain things. All men do not want BBLs, but there are some men that are okay with it because all they want is a trophy that looks good next to them, or all they want is something that they're physically attracted to. But some men want substance. So it's all about the type of men that you're trying to attract. So there are certain men that are only going to, who are not going to approach certain women if they look a certain way. And so that's kind of the things that we have to look at. Who are you actually trying to attract? What are you actually trying to attract? And are we ready to actually really look into our conditionings? How are we being conditioned? You know, what are the conditionings? What are the Eurocentric views that we have? Because most of us have those very Eurocentric ideas and values that we are tied to and that we have been tied to for years. So, that's just something that, we have to, to answer your question, yes, it's a eurocentric way of thinking. But just like Hanifa said, it is very layered, because is it self-hate? To me, it's more of, we don't value ourselves. We don't value ourselves in our natural state of being. You can call that self-hate if you want to, but we just don't know the value of who we are. You can call it beauty, or you can call it the people who were meant to be on this planet, so
let me ask you, let me go over to the next question. Mm-hmm. And we'll keep these answers for this one a little short, but isn't it important to love yourself and love your features? And if you can't love yourself or your features, can you really expect someone else to love them? Your thoughts?
Yeah, with loving yourself, self-love, we have so much of that conversation happening, especially in the spiritual community. But I think we're not taught self-love. We're not taught how to actually love ourselves and love our features. We're always, from the time that we come into the world, it's more of a validation. Mm-hmm. So validation outside of ourselves. So we have to be careful even how we have these conversations with our children, so if fathers having conversation with their daughters, if it's always all about beauty, and then it's going to, it can create a problem later on in life, because if a little girl thinks that, if she imagines her father's standard of beauty is a certain way, then, and she's not living up to that standard of beauty, then is she actually beautiful? If a girl comes out looking more like her father than her mother, and she believes that her mother is the standard of beauty. So self-love and loving our own features, yes, that's important. But how do we even get back to that? Because it still goes back to that conditioning. It goes back to, we have always looked for validation outside of ourselves. And as we could, and so should we be looking to someone else to love us if we don't love ourselves? No, because love starts from within. Me loving myself starts from within, and then it projects, outside of myself. But, it's a very intentional work, and self-love is work, because we're constantly being conditioned. It hasn't stopped. We're constantly seeing what the standard of beauty is. And so a lot of us don't even love each other. It's hard for Black men and Black women to truly love one another, because it's hard for you to love something that is a reflection of yourself.
Q, I see you nodding over there. I'm going to bring you in. What say you? It's important to, for you to love yourself and love your features. And if you can't do that, then how can you expect someone else to? Right?
First, I just want to say, no pun intended, but I absolutely do love when my dad speaks. I just do. Yeah, you have to love yourself, because if you don't have self-love, don't have self-respect, you're not able to put in place those boundaries that keep you safe. And you will allow just anything. And that's when you end up finding so many people who are hurt, because they don't love themselves. They've allowed themselves to be used and abused, and they feel it and they spill it out, but they don't understand that the way to solve these problems is to love thyself.
Mm-hmm.
To thy own self be true. And that's a journey that people have to take. They do. It takes wanting to look at the people you've connected to and realize that everyone that you connect to is a reflection of yourself, and they're meant to teach you something. So if you don't like it, then there's some self-love that and some work that needs to be done. Because absolutely, if you don't love yourself, you can't expect anybody to. How can one expect to be valued when they don't value themselves? You have to see the value in yourself first before you expect anybody else. Because once you know your value, you will stand in that. And you will stand in that value, and it will radiate around you everything that you do in your life. And you will become a person that decides what they want and says no to the things that are not aligned with you. But that all starts with self-love and knowing self.
Okay. Let's try to keep these a little short for this one, because we have a lot of questions on intimidation. Because we hear a lot about, Black men are intimidated by successful Black women, and there's a lot on that. And so, go ahead, Doc. I want you to tell me what's your thoughts on with respect to loving yourself. If you can't love yourself and how you look, how can you expect someone else to?
Hey, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think you can expect something from someone else that you don't even expect from yourself. So if you don't have any love for yourself and you can't appreciate or know the value in yourself, how do you expect someone else to? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's much of a discussion more that has to happen. I think the ladies that have spoken before me have already said what needed to be said. You got to love you before someone else can.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Ebbs?
Co-sign to everything everybody said, of course. I think what's tripping me up here is that self-love isn't about the exterior. So I'm having a hard time trying to answer a question because I feel like it's in the context of that. Self-love is a spiritual journey, and these little exterior things, hair, makeup, they really don't matter at the end of the day, because the way to really F around and fall in love with yourself is to do some inner work. Mm. So I think loving yourself and liking something about you that you see, or that you want to like, maybe you want to get a tweak. I think there's a lot of room between I got a nose job because I hate myself, and maybe this bump that got there when I broke my nose when I was 7 is causing me not to breathe. I think there's so much room in there that I don't want to even touch on like exterior little things and put that in the category of someone and self-love, because it really is a spiritual journey, and it really comes from here and radiates out, and a nose job can't stop that from radiating out. Like these little things, these exterior things, if you love yourself, it radiates. Mm-hmm. It radiates even if you have a nose job or boobs or BBL, whatever it is, it radiates. You can't hide the energy. So, I can't answer it in the context of anything other than that.
Okay. Hanifa, your thoughts?
She touched on a little bit of what I was thinking. I just wrote a question, like when we talk about self-love and I'm hearing all the different responses, I wrote down, how are we defining the self? That's the other thing, because you have your body and then you have yourself. These are connected, but they're not necessarily the same thing. So how are we defining the self here was one question, but I do want to touch on, I want us to be very careful, because I've had to check myself around this. Self-love is not a cure for everything, right? Your self-love is not going to make someone stop being a jackass, right? Your self-love doesn't, like you loving yourself doesn't mean that you're going to get the man that you've been crushing on since 3rd grade, right? If you don't end up with someone that you wanted, it don't always have to be because you lack self-love, right? So I want to be very careful how we discuss that, because when we talk about it, it's often, there are some situations where we're putting it on the, I don't want to use the word victim here, but we're putting it on the person. We're putting the blame on someone. Well, if you had done this better, then you would have gotten better. I will say this though. It is arrogant to expect what you yourself have not become. It's very arrogant. If you want something, then become that. You know.
Elaborate on that. Break that down for me.
I was gonna say, and like, okay, everybody uses the Gandhi quote, right? Be the change you wish to see in the world. Okay, we are constantly demanding of others to do this, to become that, to be better at this. You know, you want them to be more kind, but are you more kind? Okay, you want him to, I don't know, you want a man that is considerate. Are you considerate? So that's my thing. It's more of have you become that which you are requesting, or that which you are asking for? I think that's very, very important, right? And then the other thing too is that sometimes it's not necessarily self-love. Sometimes it's a matter of just shifting your focus. Sometimes we're just focused on the wrong things. Okay, we're trying to fit into places like you're square and you're trying to fit in a triangle. Okay, we're trying to force things versus allowing them to happen organically. So sometimes a rejection isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's just to change your direction. So I think we have to look at all the factors and not just chuck it to a lack of self-love. I'm very careful with that, because otherwise we are creating people who are going to constantly be in a depressed state that, oh my gosh, I can't get enough self-love. What am I doing wrong around my self-love? Whereby they're just going after or are interested in people who are not interested in them. And that's okay. And the last thing I want to say is, the reason why I would say self-love doesn't resolve anything, because Black people could love their self till they're blue in the face tomorrow, and white people are still not going to love them. I just want to make that very clear. That's where I'll end that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to you, and we are going to view a clip from the show 2 weeks ago, where I asked the brothers, why, if they were intimidated by a Black woman's success, and they got a good chuckle out of it. Let's take a look. Why is it? And Sweet Jones, I'm gonna come to you with this. Why are Black men threatened by successful Black women? Why must we both struggle? Why, Sweet Jones? Why are you intimidated or threatened by successful Black women?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know. They want to know. They want to know that question.
Yeah. Why you intimidated? You the one who told them that we was intimidated, Sweet Jones. Why you do that, man?
Bro, I ain't said no such thing. I suppose it's a thing, but at the same time, bro, I don't really understand it, man. Like, why do they think because they're successful that if we don't, I guess, see things the way that they see them, or if we don't approach them when they want to be approached, or whatever it is that they're pouring into this whole scenario, you know what? I think that's a question for a woman, dog.
So Hanifa, why do you think the brothers responded that way to the question that way?
Well, most men do respond that way. I think there are men out there who are intimidated. I don't know if I would say intimidated. I just think that they don't want to be in the presence of a very successful woman because of what it does to them and their own, insecurities. It probably just shines a light on it. But when men hear intimidation, I think most of them interpret it as like fear. Like, we're not afraid of you because you're success. I think that's how it's being interpreted. But I think when women say it, it's more so like, well, men are not approaching me because I have a PhD or whatever that is. And there probably is some truth to that. Because there are men out there that you hear it right here all the time on the internet that, you know, we don't want a woman with all of this education, and, you know, they exist. But I'm going to say this as well. I think that some women also need to recognize that it's not all about what you've acquired. It's not all about your degrees and the amount of money you make. Sometimes you just have a nasty ass attitude. Okay. And you think it's those things, but the men are not telling you what it really is. Okay. And so now you can't no one has checked you on your attitude. So now you have to go down your list of things that what it could possibly be as to why you're still single today. And all you can come up with, because you have no self-accountability and you lack self-awareness, right? All you could come up with, well, you know what? It must be because I make so much money. It must be this. And it's not that way for every single guy. I just wish that we would start talking to each other openly and honestly, so that we could start like making whatever adjustments we need to make. I'm talking about both men and women. Just having open conversations like, dude, I don't like you because you're 50 and you wear your hat backwards and you wear jerseys and you still sag your pants. Like, having those conversations versus ghosting him. The same thing with women. The same thing with men. If it's her attitude, then tell her that. I know a friend where a guy actually told her that, right? That she comes off a certain type of way. We talked about it. She didn't like it, right? But she had no choice but to hear it. And they stopped dating, but it still gave her something to think about, right? And her being who she is, she was able to say, like, you know, I know what he meant when he said that. And I, being her friend, I understood what he was saying as well. She's from New York. New York women are a little bit, you know. And so I think that, and he's from the South. No, I'm being honest. He's from the South. And I think that's what he was picking up on. But I think the labeling of it is where he went wrong. We could do a better job of communicating to each other. That's an area we need to work on. But I think it's two things. I think there are men who are intimidated. And I think that there are men who are just turned off by Black women's attitude. Because if we're really honest, a lot of us are walking around with chips on our shoulders. And we are always ready to, and of course we could get into the factors as to why that is, but it doesn't change the reality, right? We could talk about why that is all day long, but it does not change the reality. So if I see a woman and she's always mad and always screw face, and I'm not talking about smiling at every man because I hate that conversation too, but being polite, being kind, it doesn't take anything from you. Black women act like that with other Black women. So I know they're acting like that with Black men. So I know that that's a factor as well. But I think it's, again, this is also another layered conversation, and we're trying to have them in very black and white ways, because there's a lot of factors that contribute to these things that we're discussing. But no, majority of men are not intimidated by women's success. Majority of men are turned off by successful women's attitudes. That's it.
Yeah, you know what? I'll save my comment on this one for the end. Yeah, Q, I'm coming to you, then Doc, then Miss Ebb, then Ma'at, and then Miss Ebbs. Since, you know, there's a lot of talk about New Yorkers, so I know a New Yorker I'm going to let a New Yorker close this one out. Q, what do you think? Like, why do sisters believe that men are intimidated by your career or academic success? Why do they believe that?
This sister doesn't personally believe that. I don't subscribe to that belief. And that's because I'm able to speak from my own life experience. My own life experience is and has been that the men that I've encountered have appreciated a woman's success because they value what she brings to the effort, which is the family. So I think this is a conversation where it really is based on the thinking of the individual. you can't say that all Black men are intimidated, because I grew up in one of the richest Black counties in the country, where the majority of men, they will tell you, yeah, I'm making this, but she making that. And as long as she making that, I'm good. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up around men that understood what that woman brought, and they appreciated it. So again, I think it goes back to what Hanifa said, the notation on the word. Mm-hmm. You know, when you say intimidation, if there is a dislike, I don't think it's because they're intimidated. I think it's because there are a lot of women. I have some who are very close to me. They are lovable around their girlfriends, but when it comes to that man, it's like, sis, you ain't figured it out yet. You are successful. You have boom, 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 but you can't keep that man because your attitude says, I have boom, 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 so kiss my ass, and he don't have to. Right. Because he's also worked enough that he has boom, 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 and he doesn't have to deal with this attitude. Mm-hmm. You know, so there is that accountability. But as far as Black men actually being intimidated, I don't personally believe that the majority of Black women think that Black men are intimidated. I think that if a woman does think that there is a projection there, and that maybe there needs to be some look inward to be, because like attract like, right? That's the law. So if you are not attracting what you want, then it goes back to looking within. I don't have any other way to answer that than to say that, because I don't believe that I see more appreciation for what it brings to the group effort, the family, than this versus battle that's always put out there.
Well, I mean, I know you say it's a versus battle, but I mean, you know, sisters and brothers, we really think differently on a number of issues. And sometimes I know we engage in that little back and forth. We engage in the recriminations. So it's not like it's inauthentic, the disagreement that exists between Black men and Black women. I'm looking for somebody. I know somebody has to, because brothers hear it so much about being intimidated. All right. And we had a sister in the chat who said, nope, this is a real thing. And there are a number of, women who believe that. So, so far, I haven't really heard anybody. Doc, I'm coming to you. Why do sisters believe that, Black men are intimidated by their careers or academic success? I mean, and if you believe that, can anyone share some examples or your thoughts?
Oh, thank you. I kind of waited really patiently to hear out my sisters over here. And whereas I can respect what they're saying, because I don't believe it's all men, but it definitely is a thing, and I'm a living witness to it. I've had many experiences of it, and it's not because I'm nasty. I'm very down to earth. I love to have a really good time. I'm a lovable person. That's who I am. But I've also been, I was told, hey, I can't date you. You make more money than me. That's going to be a problem for me. So we won't work out. I've been told, or I was treated very disrespectfully by my partner at that time, who, as I was pursuing and furthering my education, it was really making him uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It was really making him feel a certain way the higher I went up. And that to me is his own insecurities. Mm-hmm. I've been told, I got to a place where I even had my professor, a Black man, as I'm pursuing my doctorate, ask me, are you in a relationship? I said, no, I'm not. He said to me, it's going to be very hard for you to find someone once you finish this degree. I will never forget that day. So when I say this is a thing, I'm speaking from my own personal experiences. It's really a thing. And it's sad as hell, because where I'm looked at as I'm some liability, and knowing my worth and knowing who I am, I would appreciate a brother who could see me as a partner and we go and do this damn thing together. But yet it's viewed as, oh, and I don't come off like I'm this, I'm that. I don't even tell people I have my doctorate. I stopped. I didn't even want, when I introduced myself, even in my professional realm, I don't mention I'm doctor, because I've had that. I've had many experiences of it being something like, oh, I can't touch you, or, oh, you too far up here. So since you're up here, I can't really vibe with you because we don't have things in common because you're here. And that's not the case. Get to know me. My title is my title, is what I earned. My money is my money. I earned it. I get up and I go to work every day. But I'm not throwing my money around in nobody's face. I'm not throwing around my education in no one's face. I'm not doing any of that. Now, to Hanifa's point of the nastiness, the nasty attitudes and all that, those things truly happen. I have seen other women, other Black women treat people, not even men. I'm talking about people, because it's about their status, and it's this and it's that. And these titles, they take it to a whole nother level. Right? Like, even after I got my doctor, I didn't even tell my friends, up here in the DMV. I clearly remember that my brother was like, we're going to take you out and celebrate you. And when he told the rest of the crew, they were like, she got a what? Like, she what? Like, that's how I am. So I'm not one of those people going around flossing and doing the most. I have earned everything I have, and I've been looking to share those things with someone, and someone not look at me like I'm some liability. So it definitely is a thing, and Black men need to stop that shit. Because if you can say, this is my girl, this is my woman, she's here, she's doing her thing, I support her, girl, where is it any more degrees you want to go and get? Go get it all. Do what you need to do for you. Because as a unit, we make each other look good if it's all about that. If it's about you wanting to feel a certain way or wanting to have a certain status of some sort, like, that's what I gather from some of these men, Black men. Like, I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't. But I'm speaking from my own experience. So I can't even stress enough how important it is to look at successful Black women as, yes, you're successful, but we have needs and wants and desires too. We're not inhumane because we have a certain degree, or we drive a certain car, we live a certain house, or we whatever, how many ever labels you got in your closet. That doesn't mean shit, because at the end of the day, I still want to be loved on. I still want to have a partner. I still want to be intimate. I still want all of those things. So forget all that title stuff. Like, what can we do on the other end? That's where I'm at. Okay, so, before I move on to my I have to ask this question. Is it possible, and I'm not, take yourself out of the equation, that, for some of these career women, is it possible that the men don't want to get with these women, not because they're intimidated, but because they know that the woman is a career focused woman, and that she's going to put her career before she puts him. She may be too busy to hang out with him, maybe too tired to have sex when he wants to have sex. Maybe, as far as like, excuse me?
Does he have a career?
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Oh. Okay.
I'm just saying. And so maybe because of those things, he just feels like, hey, she has too much going on. Is that possible? That maybe.
So yeah, that is possible in some cases. Yeah. It is. But if you are one that's pursuing your career, and if you want to be in a successful relationship, then you need to pursue it as well. You need to put your energy into that as well. So it can't be one dimensional. You can't just be out here wanting to go up the ladder professionally and for your career, but not take care of things on a personal level. That's not how that works, especially if you want something to work for you. That's definitely not going to be effective. So you have to, it's a balance. You got to have that balance. But I feel like you should stop pursuing your career and stop pursuing your degrees or whatever you want for a relationship? No, I do not. I don't feel like you should lose who you are for any relationship.
Ma'at, Peach Doctor makes some good points as to I mean, we know that it happens at least some of the time, but by and large, a lot of men would say it's a bit of a stretch to say that men are intimidated by your academic or career success, right? Most men, I'm speaking now for the male delegation, the delegation of brothers, that amongst ourselves, if you have a friend who has, I don't know, he's a great business person or he has a degree, as long as he doesn't go around boasting, his friends will be his biggest cheerleaders, and they'll be the ones speaking him up. And I have to believe that the same is true when you're talking about your woman or your wife. If she makes you feel like a man and she never walks around wearing her title on her sleeves, because you have a lot of people who do that. They wear their academic and career success on their sleeves. Like, hey, take a look at this, take a look at that. And if you're not doing that, most men would actually celebrate the success of their women. So, I mean, what say you to that? And then tell me what your thoughts are on as far as sisters believing that men are intimidated by their success. You're mute.
I apologize about that. Yeah, so I think with men, we have to understand, again, like Hanifa said before, that they're creatures of logic. So I know when I'm in discussion with my husband, he's always leading with logic, right? And I'm always saying, okay, well, the logic, you can't just like, you just can't put logic out there. You gotta have some emotion there too, right? So I think a lot of times when we have these conversations, and this conversation is extremely layered, it's not black and white, but men are also looking at what mindset is going to raise their children, because most men want children. So they're also looking at what mindset in this woman is going to raise my child. What are her, even if we don't call them values, even if men don't call them values, in a sense, they're looking at this woman's values, this woman's what is leading her, what is she gonna get up and do every day, and how will that affect our family? So I think a lot of times when we hear the whole conversation about intimidation, I think from the men point of view, it is, yes, they want someone who is going to be there for them, help one another. We're going to help one another on our journey. But at the same time, I think from the women's point of view, sometimes it can be a cop-out, because if I'm not chosen, it's because I am coming with I'm coming with these degrees. One thing that I want to say about what Peach Doctor, is it Peach Doctor? Dr. Peach? Peach Doctor? Okay. What she said is losing myself to be in the relationship. And so the thing is a lot of women, and I think men do this too, but a lot of women will say that, like, I still have to, like, be able to be who I am. Well, to me, a degree or your career is not who you are. It's just, it's something that you attained for the path that you decided to go on. So who you are is on a deeper level. And so, sometimes when you do go, and you are on a, you're getting into relationships. Some women, not talking about you, Peach Doctor, but some women, they do lead with their degrees. And, because it's even a turn off when men do it. If men lead with what they consider to be valuable, like their cars, their house, their degrees, their salary, that is a turn off in itself. So when women do it, it's just really a replication of that masculine thing that thing that I'm not going to even say masculine, but it's that thing that men do. Is like, I see men do it, so I'm going to do it too. And it's a subconscious thing. It's not necessarily a conscious thing.
One second, Ma, and I'll let you finish. But you bring up an interesting point, and there is a scene in the movie Think Like a Man where Taraji P. Henson's character, she dumped her boyfriend who was trying to start his own business. He was a cook. And the hypergamous nature of her kicked in when she saw an old boyfriend. She saw that he was suited and booted, and he had this fancy car. And then when they went out on a date, she realized that this man all he did was lead with his accomplishment. Everything was about him. And so at that moment, she's like, man, this guy is probably a narcissist. He loves himself. There's no way he can love me as much as he loves himself. And then she left him, and then went back to, I can't remember the guy's name, the guy with the green eyes. Anyway, but I just wanted to illustrate, right, Michael. I wanted to illustrate an example of what you were talking about. Okay, continue, Ma'at. I'm sorry.
No, so I think that it's one of those things where it, like we said, it's layered. So when it comes down to it, like women feeling that it's a reason behind it, it gives them a reason why they haven't been chosen, because for some reason we have deemed not some reason, we know the reason behind why we have deemed money, wealth, salary, career as a hierarchy of value. And so we think that because we've gotten those things, it's like almost like it makes our market value go up. Like, so you're not choosing me because even though I have these degrees, even though I do make this amount of salary. And so then it comes down to, okay, I'm at a certain age now and I haven't been chosen. So it can only be because of this. And I will say that there are some men out there that will not be honest and say, this is why I'm saying that I'm not choosing you because you make more money, but it could be, I don't agree with your values. I don't like your attitude. I don't think that you will be able to be there for me, or you are not going to raise my children the right way. There's a lot of different reason, because he's like, if I have a career and you have a career, who's actually going to be raising the children? There's so many dynamics to it. And like I said, it's too layered to really have a straightforward answer for it. But I do tend to agree that, or I say that it's sort of a cop-out for women, because if you take away the degrees and you're still not chosen, what is it then? You got to start doing that self-analysis of, if I never told a person that I didn't have these degrees, then what is it? Then what is the other reason behind me not still, in a sense, being, quote unquote, being chosen?
Right. Miss Ebbs?
Going back to that movie, she wasn't hypergamous. She was looking for a man who made equal to her because she had risen so far up in the ranks that she was running things. So,
yeah, but that's part of hypergamy is equal or more. Yeah,
she wasn't looking for a level and up. She just was looking for someone who she felt like was on that level with her, which I also think the higher up you go into the ranks in anything, the lower the dating pool if you're just looking for someone up there, right? So, co-sign to everything everybody said. I have had experiences both ways where it can be some type of attitude or it can be some type of intimidation. I think sometimes we get taught these things. And I also think that the word intimidating is offensive to men when spoken about regarding women because we are the weaker sex physically. So I think the word gets that reaction at times because there's some type of offense that's taken to it based on a lot of other things. Like physically, we're weaker. And so maybe you shouldn't be intimidated by something that's weaker than you. I'm offended if someone says I'm intimidated by something that I'm not. But maybe there is something there in the middle where, like Dr. Peach said, I don't think she's making up those experiences. I don't think these experiences happen to just Black women who rise higher up the level. This is something that's spoken about across the board. I just think the higher up in rank you go in some things, the harder it is to find whatever level you think it is, the harder it is for someone not to be intimidated because it is very impressive to have doctor in front of your name. And I also think a lot of this goes back to a really competitive mindset when we should be complimenting each other. Like I don't want a relationship that's not a partnership. And I think, you know, that's why Q mentioned the versus battle. I think some of this is not realizing that teamwork
makes the dream work.
It really does make the dream work, right? Mm-hmm. And if I'm in competition with you, I can't see your value. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that goes on. And I don't know why, but
I will say this.
David, when you finish, I just have something to say, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, go ahead because I'm close out. I have a photo that I want you all to take a look at. So go ahead, and then I'll.
I just wanted to quickly say that in these conversations, I think one of the things that we have to factor in is the difference in our makeup as men and women.
Yep.
When men approach relationships and are trying to be coupled, they are not for the same reasons that women are approaching relationships and if we talk to each other. And I think sometimes as women, we are constantly trying to make men think like us. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're looking at men and it's almost like they're trying to make women think like them. The reality is that we do not think alike. And I think a part of this as well too is that when we have reduced men to simply providers and protectors, whereby men bring so much more than that to the table. Mm-hmm. What happens in those situations is if I see myself as a provider and I'm looking at you and I'm sizing you up, I'm literally trying to find purpose in coupling with you. Where do I fit as provider? Because you can go and do everything for yourself. Where do I fit, right? The same thing with women who are walking around like really tough and independent. Like men are sizing that up. Like you don't necessarily need a man. You seem like you got it all covered. That is the protection piece. And I'm saying that men should not accept that they only are providers and protectors. Men are so much more than that. But I also think women also have to understand that once we reduce men to that, and then we are able to fill those spaces in our own lives, when men are looking at us and pursuing us, they're literally trying to find where they fit. And if they can't see where they fit, then they're not trying to mess with you like that. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm saying that we are not valued the same in this society as men and women. we are not looking for the same things when we connect to each other. My aunt mentioned women. When men look and say, what type of mother are you going to be to my children? What kind of mindset? What are you going to teach my children? Men are not looking at us and saying, how can you protect me? That's not what men are looking at us and saying. They're not looking at women and saying, how are you going to protect me in a state of emergency? No man has ever, probably ever, and if they exist, they're in a 1%, look at a woman and say, how can she protect me? Because that's not the way that men approach relationships, right? And the same thing with women. So I think that's a factor that we have to consider, is that our wiring and our reason for pursuing each other are completely different. And we have to respect it and learn how to work with it. That's it. That's what I got.
Right. I think, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of what my aunt mentioned earlier, where some women may use that saying that a man is intimidated by me, by her, to absolve herself of any responsibility. Some women, let's be honest, some women can't handle rejection. Some women may use that to absolve themselves rather than look at self-reflection to see what she may be doing wrong. Maybe she's just choosing the wrong type of men, et cetera, et cetera. And no, I don't think, by and large, I don't think men are intimidated by women's success. I do believe, however, that men can be, I guess, if you, to the degree that a man is intimidated, he would be more so intimidated by your physical and spiritual beauty, that inner beauty, and in your physical beauty, where it would even elicit a physiological response, such as accelerated heart rate, sweaty palms, knot in the throat. So I wanted to show you this photo, and this is not meant to disparage anybody weight wise. I mean, I'm just trying to make a point. So I want the ladies of the panel to take a look at this. Take a look at this juxtaposition. So on the left, we have a young lady named Mizzo. She's accused of looking like, she's been often told she looks like Lizzo. And she has a PhD, and she makes about $125,000 a year. And on the right, there's a young lady named Molly Terry, and people normally say that she looks like Holly Berry, right? And she has an associate's degree, and she makes about $30,000 a year. And so, the question that I have to you, in engaging either one of these women and knowing their background, I mean, all things being equal, they're both pleasant, they're both sweet people, but engaging in a romantic relationship, which one of these ladies do you believe a man would be more intimidated by? I will start with you, Miss Ebb, since you giving me that face. I'm going to start with you. I can't hear you.
Muted.
You're muted.
I just don't think this is enough factors for me to even decide that. Like, I think I can't formulate a response to the question, because I don't think that that's enough for me to factor I don't know why guys get intimidated if they are, but I don't think that this is enough. Like, I don't think this is I just can't. Sorry, that's not enough for me to answer.
I think that, we have we had a comment from a sister in the chat, and she said, don't you think this is a question for the men? I think this is a pretty easy answer for the men. I just wanted to know, I'm trying to gauge how the sisters are thinking on this. So Q, what do you think? If you were to take a wild guess, which one of these women do you think a man would be more intimidated by?
Again, I guess it goes back to I don't think like a man, because I can't formulate, like, if this is all the information we have and you're saying the man is going to make a decision based off of this information, who is he more intimidated by? Based on just her salary?
Based on everything. Salary, looks, everything.
To be honest, okay, I'm gonna answer this based on conversations that I've had with men, because I'm not one, right? But I have been told that a man is more intimidated by the feeling that the woman gives him, like, if the heart pounding, the butterflies and things like that. So I'm gonna say, if a man looks at either one of these women,
the preference. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to say, if a man looks at either one of these women and whatever his preference is, that's going to be the factor that intimidates them, because and this is based on I can't see why someone is just intimidated just by the salary. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because I don't want to take away credence from them. But if I had to, based on what Doc Peach said, obviously it's going to be the one with the higher salary based on that experience. And I'm just off the top of my head giving you my truth, that based on the conversations I've had with men, it's not a salary thing. It's an attitude thing. It's something else, right? And the thing that really truly intimidates them is the fact that most men, what I've been told, when they find a woman, that they go over, what they say is, oh, she was out of my league. Like, the men that are really in love, they don't care about what she makes, she was out of my league. And they were intimidated by her because they really believed that she was just out of their league. And it doesn't necessarily mean salary. So, but based on the experiences that Dr. Peach has said, based on that experience, obviously it would be the person with the higher salary. If I had to guesstimate.
Okay. So I'm going to go Doc, Hanifa, then Ma'at. Doc, give it to me. Which one of these ladies do you feel is more likely, if you're talking about guys approaching a woman for romantic involvement, which one of these ladies would be more likely to be intimidating to a man?
See, I see what you're doing.
What's that?
And all your men friend and people, I see what you're doing. What you're trying to do and say is that men are maybe more intimidated by a woman's beauty and not by how much they make, so on and so forth, which is the reason why you chose the two pictures that you chose. Again, I go back to my statement of, what do you define as beauty? Because for some, the one that's on my left will be the one that's got the $125,000. So when you're talking about what a man likes, there are plenty of men that are way more attracted to the 125 than they are to the 30,000. I'm talking about the physical person that you placed up there on the screen, because I forgot what you named them, but you understand exactly what I'm saying, right? So I see how you are trying to project this notion of, oh, men really aren't intimidated by a woman and a woman's success and a woman's this and a woman's that, which if you do more research, you'll see that even in the industry, this same type of thing happens, that you have people in the industry itself that will say, oh, because this person is this, and this, that that she out of my league. Because that's what y'all will say. Oh, she out of my league, right? Instead of using the word, I'm intimidated by her, or, she's out of my league, right? Based off of whichever one you find yourself physically attracted to, then you tackle on how much they make, right? So again, and I have my own personal experiences with this very thing, and I see how you're trying to spin it, that it's all about what men's all about what a woman looks like. And that's not always the case, right? Because you can have...
That's not what I'm saying.
It's not?
That's not what I'm saying.
So let me ask you a question. If that's not what you're saying, what made you choose those two pictures?
Because the point that I'm making is, okay, so the reason why I chose Molly Terry, who looks like Halle Berry, is because Halle Berry was considered a sex symbol at a certain period of time, right? Like she was the standard, she was the it girl. Now, when we talk about Lizzo, I happen to think that Lizzo is a pretty girl. I think she's a pretty girl. I mean, she has some, you know, she obviously she's a bigger girl, and a lot of guys are not into women of that size. And so the reason why I chose that is because if money is the factor, if success, your degree and your education and your money are the factors that are intimidating to a man, then it shouldn't matter who makes that money or who has that degree. That would be the common thing.
Why didn't you put the same picture with the same with the different salaries on the same picture, if that's the case?
What do you mean? There was chances are it would be
because a woman that's a Halle Berry that's making $30,000 and a woman that's a Halle Berry making $125,000. You tell me what you think. You tell me which one you think the man would find to be most intimidating then.
Me personally, I just don't believe most men are intimidated by the money. I really don't think that most men are intimidated. I think what it's about is more about the perception of how you be treated. Because you have a lot of women. 2 weeks ago, we talked about a sister. We analyzed her comment, and so let me give you some context. So we were talking about hypergamy, and the context is hypergamy keeping black women single and lonely. Now this thing where black women will overlook a brother because he makes $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 less than them. He could be a good brother, but there's some women who absolutely will not date a man who makes $20,000 less than them. And in the scenario, the woman makes $100,000. She refused to date a man who makes excuse me, let me get another. She refuses to date a man who give me 1 second. So she refuses to date a man who made $80,000, and her rationale for that was, if I have $100,000 lifestyle, I need the man to come in and maintain the lifestyle that I created for myself. And if I go down, if something were to happen to me, I need him to step up. He wouldn't be able to handle the workload. And so all of the brothers were like, this makes absolutely no sense. If you make $100,000 and he makes $80,000, you have a $180,000 household. There's no state in the United States where $180,000 is not upper middle class. But she was very dogmatic about it. She's like, no, I can't do it. And even though every reputable study shows that married men earn more than single men, once a man gets married, he changes. He has a purpose. Women have a civilizing effect on men, and they have throughout the history of time. Right? Once a man has a purpose, and his wife and his family becomes his purpose, everything shifts. He's going to work harder. He's going to strive for a promotion. Everything changes. But her response, I don't want to say that it was a bit myopic, but it was. So the thing is, you're saying that you would rather be by yourself making $100,000 rather than to have $80,000 more than you have right now. And what that is an example of making the perfect the enemy of the good, overlooking or disregarding a good situation in pursuit of a perfect situation, even though that perfect situation may or may not come. Now I see you're looking confused. You're familiar.
I'm not confused. It just sounds like settling to me, and I don't think anybody should do that. So you think okay? So you think? I think it's okay to want to not do things that you don't want to do without making it just across the board everybody's feelings. Like if someone is so convicted that they're like, no, I cannot do that, they should not do that. They shouldn't even try. Like, it's a personal thing. I just don't think it goes across the board. I think it's okay for some women to feel that way. And I think it's okay for another woman to go, oh my God, I'd rather be in a $180,000 home, provided that these two people share and provide that type of way, because that's not something that always happens. Just like men don't always grow up when they get married, Abe. They just don't.
I think I disagree.
Generalize. Go ahead.
I think I disagree. So I think, like, for me, I'm not one of those that said, oh, my husband has to make more money than me, make as much as I do. I've never been that person. Mm-hmm. So if he bringing 80,000 to my 6, great. Right. That's more money. That's way more money than I'm already working with. Right. So, like, what can we do when we bring these resources together, and what can we accomplish when we do that? That's the way I look at it. So a woman because I mean, you keep looking for this man that makes more than you, and I mean, the chances of that is very slim, especially if you're not already with the person and y'all, that's very slim. So no, I to me, I think that's crazy as hell. But to each his own. But I wouldn't do it, but I think it's crazy.
Right. Right. Hanifa, let me bring you in. We kind of took a detour. I mean, do you want to jump in on what we're talking about now, or do you want me? Do you want to focus on the intimidation?
No, I'll answer the intimidation question.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead, and again, this is just within the context that you're asking and solely focused on how you're presenting it. Mm-hmm. Most men would see the bigger lady as less intimidating than the other lady. Mm-hmm. And a part of it has to do with how we as a society feel about fat people. We feel that we do not value them as highly. I don't care what they make. This is why you have people who have an issue with bigger people who have high confidence, because it's how dare they. Mm-hmm. How dare you have that much confidence and look the way you look? And so when I think about it, when I say intimidated, they're going to be less likely to be intimidated by that size woman, because their assumption is that they don't have to do much because she's already desperate. So when you look at a woman like the other lady that most men consider attractive, the Halle Berry, the biracial type looking woman, they are intimidated because they think that she has a very high view of herself. She could have the lowest self-esteem, probably lower than the other picture. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter. The exterior represents a woman who is sure of herself, who knows what she wants, whose standards are very high, right? And I'm talking about how our society functions. I'm not even going to act like this is not a fact. It's a fact. There are men out there that like bigger sized women. I am from the Caribbean. I grew up around them, okay? They exist. There are men that would say, I like some woman with some meat on her bone. Mm-hmm. But the society that we live in, that is not the pinnacle of beauty. And a lot of our men are literally trying to fall in line with what society says is the standard of beauty, and that's what they want to see on their arm.
Do you really think that, though? Do you really?
Yes. Yes, I do. That's why I'm stating it, Abe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm going to end here. Mm-hmm. But the Halle Berry type, this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate. But the Halle Berry type is seen as having more value and having higher standards. And so if I want to, quote unquote, bag someone like that, I have to come correct. I have to come a certain type of way, because perhaps she's going to be harder to get simply because of the way she looks. And the lady who is the bigger lady, I mean, come on, we live in a society that finds big women repulsive. We live in a society that devalues bigger sized women. Okay, we live in a society that says these women should not have self-confidence. simply because of their size. It doesn't matter how they got that size. It doesn't matter if any trauma they've experienced. That does not matter. The fact that you are that size, you are seen as lower than. And the assumption is that you have low self-esteem and you are insecure. And therefore, you cannot require much. And so that makes you to appear less intimidating. Now, is it a fact? Maybe not. But when we go by appearance, because that's really all we have to go by here. If I'm going to go by appearance and I'm going to be honest about how our society thinks, yes, the bigger lady is going to be seen as less intimidating than the lady who is closer, to the beauty standards of our society. That's how I see it.
Okay, so Ma'at, you're going to close out this segment, and then we have one more segment before we go into our closing thoughts and close out the show, and you'll lead us off with that. But the Eurocentric standard of beauty, I tend to believe that most brothers, for the most part, have rebelled against the European standard of beauty, to the extent that even white women and Latino women are embracing voluptuousness, right? I mean, because prior to Sir Mix-a-Lot coming out with Baby Got Back, and he stated the reason for why he came out with that song was that he had an issue. He took issue with the fact that they were trying to push all of these skinny women who were like, 105 pounds, underweight. And especially for black women are not built like that. Black women are naturally built. You could take a black woman who is 175 pounds and she won't really look heavy. And you take another woman, same height, that's 175 pounds, and she look much heavier than a black woman. I don't know if there's like muscle density, but I don't know. We just seem to be a little bit more, proportional. And so, so he came out with this song, Baby Got Back, to celebrate the thickness and the beauty of a black woman. And it caught fire. And, a lot of white people play that at their weddings. And ever since then, you started having the J-Lo types, and people were talking about how great, J-Lo's backside is. And if you ask me, I think that may have been what led to women trying to get the BBLs and, and working to get a backside. What say you to that? And then after that, address who you thought men would find more intimidating in engaging in a romantic relationship.
Okay, so the first question is saying that black men, in your opinion, black men have rebelled against.
Not totally, not totally, but as far as, trying to force that standard of beauty of 105 pounds. I don't think black men ever really embrace that.
Yeah. So when it comes to like the black women getting BBLs and things like that, it's more of, again, we're in a society that that values the closer proximity to whiteness. So black women are imitating white women who are imitating black women. So that's where we're getting the long, the weaves, the eyelashes, the BBLs and things like that, because when white women start looking at it as valuable, then black women start looking at it as valuable. And because black women weren't necessarily taking care of themselves because they were eating things that are in detriment to, they start having to do the quick fix. Like I have to do the quick fix of, getting, to look a certain way, even though we can naturally look that way. So when it comes to, black men, I will say that is true, because I think a lot of times we dismiss the statistics so we can jump over to prove our argument. So there's a lot of black men, the statistics say that black men are still choosing black Black women. Black women are still choosing Black men. But the thing that points out the most, and what is, is a conditioning. We have to turn the TV off for one.
Right.
We have to stop looking at the commercials, at the reality shows, at the these Black shows that I don't know what y'all be watching these days. But we gotta stop looking at those things, because they perpetuate that. When somebody comes to me and they talk about interracial relationships, I don't feed into it, because I don't care, if I see a white couple walking down the street, I'm like, oh, that's so wonderful, because white people are white peopling, that's cool. Like, they can do that. But, the thing is, we perpetuate what we don't like. So we start talking about it all the time. And so a lot of times, and that's where we get the divestors, right? We get divestors, when you get divestors, they can look like anything, right? Those white people can be fat, they can be overweight, they can have, they can be almost anything, because it's about the proximity to whiteness. The thing that we value, that we as a people value, the society value, is the whiteness. That's what it is. And so the closer that you are to that, that's what we tend to look at as valuable. So if I can get the best of both worlds, then that's where you see people starting leaning towards, oh, I can get me a woman that's closer to white, but she still got a butt, or she's still, she's injecting her lips, injecting her lips and things like that. And so then we see that, and we're like, because it's being perpetuated on TV, we see it, and we're like, oh, well, what do we need to do? We need to get a big butt. We need to get lips. And the truth is, we're already it. They're just trying to be us. It's the whole skin tanning that white people do, right? Like, they're trying to be us, and then we're copying them. We're Dr. Henry Clark, what did he say? He said, we're imitating the imitators. And so we have to come to realization that we're being conditioned. And as long as we're being conditioned to value something that looks differently than us, then we're going to continue to engage in this. People are going to continue to get surgery. We're going to continue to look at ourselves as less valuable. So when it comes to the pictures, who would be more intimidating, I agree with what Hanifa said. I think the pictures are problematic, for one, because it continues to promote that idea of the closer proximity you are to whiteness, you are more valuable. Mm-hmm. So to me, the pictures are problematic in themselves. If we had two people, because Halle Berry, she is of mixed race, and then you have Liz. I think and I understand what you were doing with the pictures, but to me they're just problematic pictures within themselves, and it doesn't really get the point across that really needs to get across, because it's still perpetuating that whole white ideology.
Right. I mean, in fairness, this is Molly Terry. This is not Halle Berry, and we don't really know if she has a mixed background. So
okay, I get what you're saying.
So okay. So last question. This is the last question, and if we can keep our answers short and tight, so we can go ahead and close this segment out. We know that in America there are 1.8 million more black women than there are black men. Right. It's going to be very difficult for every black woman to have her own husband. Some women are not with the whole side chick culture. Some women are not with polygamy. Some people are not with polyamory. But the question I want to ask you, Ma'at, is do you think giving your man an occasional hall pass could potentially strengthen a relationship. I mean, a lot of brothers think that that's a good idea.
I'm sure they do. Hall pass. So when we say hall pass, that's like saying you can go and just like have sex with someone.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so to me, that is goodness. Like when we okay, so I feel that no, I don't think it strengthens the relationship. Maybe for some. For some, I can see that it may strengthen the relationship. The issue that I see is that, case in point, we saw like whole thing with Will and Jada, So the thing is, I think it can deteriorate because, again, this is like very surface. Like, it's a very surface thing. It's like this relationship is based on physicality. And so, there's different levels of intimacy. Intimacy is not just sex. Mm-hmm. Intimacy is not just like, me getting off and stuff like that. So when you talk about a hall pass, I can see that actually can aid in deteriorating the relationship because now you're giving yourself, like you're giving parts of yourself to other people. Instead of saying, hey, you're not fulfilling my needs, but how can let's work through this. How can we talk through? How can we work through where you are fulfilling my needs? So a lot of times, people want to go outside the relationship because their needs are not being met. And I know some people will say, oh, well, men or women, they're cheating, about these women outside and all these different kind of things. But I think that if you are aiming towards a relationship that's built on more than just a physical connection, then there's parts to it that you need to dig deeper within, because if you're always giving yourself, and if you believe in the fact that you can create these ties to other people and things like that, then it's going to be hard for that relationship to actually strengthen. It actually could be weakened and actually deteriorate because of that. There's some people who can get over, cheating, and there's some people who can't. There's some people who can deal with that. I don't think we're even mature enough to deal with that as a community, as a people, to deal with someone getting a quote unquote hall pass. I think we're not even mature enough to deal with polygamy, the polygyny conversations. We're not really mature enough as a society, as a group, to really deal with it. It's one thing of knowing, like finding out, like when you find out someone's cheating on you, that's one thing, but actually to be mature enough to handle the situation is a whole different thing, because we still exist in a paradigm where we still, like, you still want to be it. You want to be the favorite, so there's a lot to it. So
I will say that there's some people out there that believe, I'm going to go Q, then I'm going to go to you, Miss Ebbs, then Hanifa, Doc, then Hanifa, you're going to close us out, and then we're going to go to our closing comments. There are some people who believe that they can handle it. And there's some brothers who feel like, the sisters shouldn't be selfish. I mean, because, some brothers feel like, the whole, and some women feel like the whole monogamy thing is selfish to a degree. I mean, Q, what say you, Don? I mean, an occasional hall pass, giving a brother occasional hall pass, that won't hurt nobody, right?
Again, well, I believe this really all goes back to what the couple has agreed to. I am a polyamorous woman. So my response to that would be, what defines the hall pass? Because if it's something where you're just talking about just sex Well, I know of people who live a swinger lifestyle, and is that a hall pass? So it would be, if you're talking about a hall pass, for me, that's a question for someone who's more monogamous minded, because a hall pass means you're getting to do something that I guess you feel is taboo. So the hall pass really all go back to, okay, what is the mindset and what is the thinking? As far as strengthening or deteriorating, when you're talking about cheating, that can happen whether you have monogamous or polyamorous. So the hall pass thing, from my mindset, it really only applies when you're talking about monogamy. Now, it would really be up to that couple. If there's communication about it and it's understood, and they feel this is something that is needed because they see each other, then okay. I do, however, believe that if the man's going to get a hall pass, then why shouldn't the woman? That's just my personal thinking.
But what about what about the brothers? And let me go to you, Miss Ebbs, because I'm pretty sure you share her sentiment. What about the brothers that say, hey, you know what? It's not for the sisters to do that. You know, because y'all get your emotions caught up, and you know, with men, it's just a sexual thing, it's just a physical thing. I mean, there's some truth to that, right?
No, that's the silliest thing ever. I'm also polyamorous woman, and so I don't subscribe to monogamy. I think monogamous people should be monogamous, which means there shouldn't be any idea of hall passes. They should do what Mayat said, figure out what the needs are, have conversations about it, and work from there. Personally, I do not think that I don't want to be one person who supplies every need of my partner. That's why I want him to be able, and her to be able, to have other partners. And I don't want them to be that for me. So I think that, again, monogamous people should be monogamous and not play these games of let me get permission to cheat on you and let me decide to tell you that it only works for you, because people are people and people have feelings, wants, needs, desires. Trust me, women have them. We do. We don't always want to look at the same cracker. I mean, our spouse, whatever. We find other people attractive. That doesn't mean we want to be with them. If you're monogamous, you're monogamous. That's not for you. If you're not monogamous, have conversations, have agreements, stick to those. I personally don't think I can tell any people what to do in the confines of their relationship that they agreed upon. But I think anybody who's telling people it should be one-sided is full of it. So that's just my personal.
Hanifa, I mean, it's not that bad of an idea, right? I mean, a hall pass.
I had a question.
Sure.
I had a question for you. You said that the men thought it was a good idea. Do you know why? Did they expound on the why they thought that hall passes were a really good idea?
Well, you know what? I will bring it to the brothers in the chat. Please answer Sister Hanifa's question and state why you feel a hall pass is a good idea for a relationship. So we'll come back to that. Go ahead and finish your point.
Yes, but yeah. So the reason why I asked that is because if you're having problems in your relationship, if you have a lack of communication, having a hall pass, when you come back, you're still going to have to figure out how to communicate. If you have a lack of reciprocity after your hall pass, you're still going to have to come back and figure out how to reciprocate. If there's a lack of equilibrium, there's no balance, she's carrying most of the weight, you going having a hall pass will not resolve these things. So that's why I asked that question. Are they thinking that giving a man a hall pass once in a while is going to keep the relationship intact? Because if the relationship has issues, I can guarantee you 95%, 99.9% of the time, it has nothing to do with someone not having a hall pass. Okay? So that's why I asked that, like, what are they saying? Like, what is it supposed to resolve? What is it supposed to fix? I agree with everything that was said. Monogamous people need to be with monogamous people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you are in agreement on having a monogamous relationship with another monogamous person, then you need to honor that agreement. Okay? This is why people have to be authentic and be upfront from the jump. You should not be trying to be you're polyamorous and still trying to date a monogamous person because you try and win them over to your side. It's the same thing when people get upset when gay men try to approach straight men or gay women, straight women. It's like, oh, I'm going to turn them out. I see it the same way. Link with people who are on the same frequency as you, please, and thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can avoid all of this confusion. Right. And we don't leave people worse than we found them. You know, we're not disrespecting people. We're not lying. There's no need for deceit or anything like that. When it comes to our relationships, I stand on this. I always say this. We need to really put the way that we define love and the way that we understand love under a microscope, and we need to dissect it. We need to take it apart, because I think that a lot of us have been taught how to love in a very possessive way. We think we own people, you know, because you are in a relationship with me or because I'm intimate with you, I now possess you. And I think a lot of the frustration and the stress that we experience, specifically monogamous relationships, are very much connected to that need to possess each other. I think that if we go in where we're like, look, I am honored that this person has agreed to couple and partner with me on this journey, and I am going to love them for as long as they allow me to, and I am going to give them the best of me for as long as I'm allowed to, and that person is also reciprocating that. I think that's a less stressful relationship versus, oh no, you're mine. You can't even look at another woman's ass. You can't, like, all of these ridiculousness. The way that we learn to love, I think we really need to rethink it and we need to re-examine it. But as far as hall passes, what is it solving? That's my question. What is it supposed to solve? Because if your thinking is going to fix the issues in relationships, I'm here to tell you it probably won't. It will probably make it worse. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Okay. Doc, what say you to that? I mean, occasional hall pass never hurt anybody. I mean,
man, that's no.
No
hall passes. I mean, no.
We're not doing that over here.
No, not. I agree with those who are poly. If you poly, then I think that's, you respect whatever you have set. And I agree with Hanifa. Like, if you are in a monogamous relationship, then that's how you should proceed. So if that is the case, and I always say this because I think it's, people always want to say, oh, it's not good for a woman to do it because if a woman goes out and starts cheating on her guy, it's emotional. But if a man does, it's just because of the physical, it's just because they want, and all that shit is greedy. You're just greedy. It's like, and it's pointless. And I find it to be disrespectful as well. If you want to do all of those things, and if you're in that dire need of a hall pass, then you need to let me go and go on with your pass, because that will be the pass I'm giving you. The pass I'm going to give you is that this is a wrap, and you can go out there and do whatever you want to do with who you want to do it with, but don't go do your thing and stay out there doing your thing. That's how I feel about it. I'm not poly. I only want one person. I only want one man, and I want him to only want one woman, and that's how I want it to be. That's my desire. That's what I will seek in my relationship. Anybody that wants something different, do your thing. But with me and mine, we're not going out here giving passes for you to go lay up with somebody else. Mm-hmm. I know what happens when you engage in all that. Have I been cheated on before? Yes, I have. And when the relationship obviously ended, and it didn't end necessarily because I didn't forgive. It ended because they wanted to keep doing what they were doing. Mm. So it's a sense of greed from a man that I guess you just looking, because I'm not saying you can't look, we human. But it's the fact that you want to go all the way with that person and share yourself with that person. I got a problem with you. Can't share yourself with me. I'm not into threesomes. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to share yourself with me and someone else. This is not going to work that way. And it's not a matter of me owning you either. It's just that this is what I expect in my relationship. And I expect for you to honor, if you say you want to be monogamous, that's what we're doing. That doesn't mean we're going, if I go to the altar and I say I do to you, we're going to the altar and saying I do, with the notion of that I'm doing this with you and you only. Not, oh, I do, but you're going to give me a hall pass in about 5 years because, in about 5 years. No.
Well then,
and y'all, first of all, men ain't even got it like that to be out here trying to have sex with a whole bunch of women.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's some guys out there would take exception to that.
Yeah, some are, but the older you get, comes a challenge, and you're trying to spread yourself thin, so you're gonna make some people upset.
Okay, so we are at that time. We've gone a little over. It was definitely it was definitely a little spicy. It was very passionate. So we'll go to closing comments. We do have a question that our brother Sweet Jones wanted to know. Like, why do you can incorporate this into your closing? Like, he wants to know, why do you sisters always like to say who hurt you? Right. So Doc, go ahead and close us out. Give us your final thoughts and address that if you can within 90 seconds.
I'm trying to understand what am I addressing?
Well, I wanted you to give your closing comments, but there was a question I didn't get to about why you sisters like to state the phrase, who hurt you. Why is that something that's in your back pocket whenever you don't get your way? Or
Okay. So I really don't think I understand Brother Jones's where he's coming from with the who hurt you. I wish we could get a little bit more clarity on that particular one. But in closing, I say that I just don't have time for bull. I want just be straight up and keep the games to yourself or take them somewhere else. I don't have the patience for all of that stuff. Not no relationship. I just don't have the patience for that. We're all entitled to feel how we want to feel. So the things that Ray said, even in his clip, I have to say, like, I listened to it quite a few times to I really thought about the things that he was saying, and some of it I could kind of side with him on, when it came down to the difference of the weaves, their lashes and the makeups and this, that, and the other, and things that we do to our bodies. Have I ever worn lashes before? Yeah, I have. But if you're asking me what my more natural state is, my more natural state is to be this. Like I have on a little bit of makeup now, but my more natural state is my own fingernails, my own hair, my own, all of these things would be my most natural, comfortable place for me. Versus always having to feel like I need to get done up or whatever. And that is what's appeasing to Black men. So I think, like, if we really truly want this war to end, it's going to take some meeting of the minds. And I'm just not sure that we are there as Black people.
Okay. Q?
Well, as far as the war ending, I do agree with Peach Doc said. There's going to need to be some accountability on both sides, because it's not always self-hate. Although there is some of that in there, it's going to take conversations and understanding. I never did get an answer to my question earlier, the one where I asked Ray specifically. I said, what is his response to a woman who had a lot of children? Or what is the response to a woman who maybe she once upon a time had a long mane and something happened, and because there's so much value placed on beauty, she now has done things to keep up with that while maintaining a family, because it's not always self-hate. So the war doesn't even have to exist if there's room made to see that while, yes, there are issues, there are women that have self-esteem, and it's not just Black women, there are women that have self-esteem issues that get up every morning. And I too know women that can't go to their front porch without having a full face of makeup. Those things do happen, but it is not the majority. So if we can leave room for a conversation, and if that's not what you like, slide to the left. Because if you know, I at times will wear makeup and lashes, but I really do hate them. The only time I wear them is when I'm forced to. I'm not a fan of, and that's just because the occasion calls for it. My more natural state usually is just like I am now. I promise you, the only reason I put on this hair ponytail, you know, is because I had to get on this show tonight. But since y'all don't like it, well, all right. I mean,
okay. You're such a Virgo.
Because I have my natural mane, but you know, sometimes we're busy and we don't have time for all of this. It's not always about self-hate. Sometimes it really is about convenience, right? I have 6 children and run a business, right? I don't have time to do my hair every day, right? But I love myself, right? Those are my closing.
You know, Ray has a lot of love for y'all, and I know y'all have a lot of love for Ray. I need for your thoughts.
I'm gonna go ahead and before I say my closing, I think at least from what Stan asked, the only time that I hear men or hear women ask men who hurt you is usually when the barbershop's conversations have now hit the public sphere. Women are not used to men having these type of conversations publicly about us. So it's like, wait, for you to even talk about women like that, you must be hurt. And maybe they're hurt, and maybe they're just tired. And maybe they're just in a space where like, no, women need to know this and they need to be held accountable. At least from what I've seen, women usually ask that question. It's almost like a deflection from sitting with the uncomfortableness of the conversation oftentimes. All it is that we were not privy to the barbershop conversations, and the barbershop conversations or the private conversations that men have been having amongst themselves for years are now being had in front of women, and we don't know how to take it. And the second thing with that, men, I had to learn this, men are not going to talk to us like their girlfriends. They're just not. It's not going. I've heard men talk to each other, and I sat there like, ouch.
They're not.
Like, geez, the way they come at each is like, oh my, you gonna let him talk to you like that? And the answer is yes, because that's just how they talk to each other. So I actually think, I'm saying this not just for women, but I think men also need to put in perspective, you just can't talk to a woman the way you talk to your boys. And women need to understand too that men are not going to talk to us like our good girlfriends. It's never gonna happen, right? So I just wanted to put that out there. But in closing, I'm glad I had this conversation. I enjoy all the different perspective. I love my sisters, the colorfulness that we bring, and the fight, like that feistiness. Don't pay these men no mind. That's necessary. Okay, that's absolutely necessary. That's the seasoning. Anyway, it's just how we do it. We can be feisty and still respectful. But overall, I think it was a good conversation. And in closing, I'm just going to say, find who is functioning on the same frequency as you, who aligns with you, versus trying to find people who are not and asking them to shift so that you can be comfortable with them. Find what you are looking for and stop trying to find someone and make them into what you're looking for. Because what you're looking for is out there. It might just require you to have a little more patience. It might require you to maybe stop looking in the clubs. Maybe even stop looking in the church. Maybe you need to travel. Maybe, you know, just switch it up a little bit. But stop projecting and forcing people to become who you want them to become, and go find someone who is already that thing that you need. That's my closing remarks.
Good thoughts. Ms. Ebbs.
I piggyback everything that was said, and I agree with something that Hanifa said, and also thought both. I thought sometimes that "who hurt you" response is a deflection, and sometimes it's because there's pain there. And I wish that the person, any person being asked that question, could say, "I was hurt by such and such," or so and so, because then the conversation could really happen. Because that question doesn't just get asked for no reason. Even if it's a deflection by this person, they're probably hearing some pain. 1. 2, I was very tickled a lot tonight at some of these questions, I have to say, and some of the responses. And Ray is just Ray. And I can't do anything but laugh at some of it, because it's how we give it credence that really is the problem. I don't think that this war would exist if most of us realized we had more in common than not. And if most of us did what Hanifa said, realize that we can find people who are on the frequency of ours. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this is just an opinion. Mm-hmm. You know, like at the end of the day, it's just an opinion. I don't have to like weaves. I personally wouldn't date someone with weaves if I didn't like weaves. And that's what it all boils down to. And some of it is just that. And it's just as simple as that. And find who you can be celebrated by and not tolerated by. And, you know, just leave the rest alone. It ain't none of your business anyway. Like, I can't. That's all I got.
Okay. Q?
I thought I already gave my last
one. Oh, you
one.
did? Okay, I'm sorry.
But can I just say, this is what happens when you get in a room full of aligned women, healed individuals who just have a conversation.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, I thought the sisters would bring it, and you did bring it tonight, and you were very passionate in your responses, and I didn't want to cut you off because you had a lot to get off your chest, because normally, you know me, I keep it moving, but you were very passionate in your responses, and I just wanted to let you rock. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, Miss Ebbs, she kind of said what I was going to say about the question. I think that we have to understand, especially in this society, none of us have gone unscathed. We've been hurt. Most of it have been hurt. So when we have these conversations and we hear these conversations, I can say that I say that to what I don't say I say it, but I'll think it like, oh, sis has been hurt. You can hear it. There are certain things that people will say, and you can hear the pain, and it might be, it might be covered up with a joke. It might be covered up with other things. Sometimes it's your mother who hurt you. Sometimes it's an ex or whomever it can be, but you can hear the pain, even though it's it's being it's kind of an undercover kind of thing. So I think when women ask that, it's kind of like a joke. It is sometimes it can be a bit of a deflection, but it's an actual truth that there is pain there. And if you listen closely, if we listen to one another, we can hear the pain and we can hear the projections that are happening. One thing that I wanted to say was a quote that I read today. And it said, just because you have a thought doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Mm-hmm. So we have to remember that our thoughts, I tell my I tell our kids this all the time, that your thoughts are usually not your own. They're usually something that has been there. You know, even the most educated people, they're reading books and they're speaking on what they have read. So, you know, a lot of times we are having these conversations about each other and they're coming from something. So when Black men have something negative to say about Black women have something negative to say about Black men, it comes from something. It can come from your household. It can come from the social media. It can come from, you know, it can come from TV or whatever, and vice versa when it comes to Black men. So we have to continuously understand where these conditionings and why we think the things that we think. You know, I did something months ago, probably about a year ago, on my channel, Is Your Mind Your Own? Because that is what we're up against. We're up against the fact that we are constantly being conditioned to think things about one another. So when we talk about this so-called gender war, we have to understand that this gender war, the war that we exist in when it even comes to the white supremacist ideology or doctrine and all of that, that's a war of the mind first. So in order to get over this gender war, we have to start looking at that Black man, and that Black man has to start looking at that Black woman as valuable. Whatever you say, whether I don't like it or not, it's still valuable. The most uncomfortable conversations, we still have to say, this is uncomfortable. I don't like what you're saying. That's the only way a relationship will thrive. I don't like what you're saying. It's uncomfortable, but it's still valuable. What you're saying is still valuable. I have to take it in and I have to use it and then move forward with what is being said. Now you can walk away, or you can actually sit in that discomfort for a moment and then try to move forward together as a unit.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts. I will say that this has been a very interesting panel. Like I said, we went a little bit long, but all of you rocked. You were very passionate. There was some pretty spirited responses. I will say that we have one more in the gender war installments. It's just solutions driven, where we're bringing the men did theirs separately, the women did theirs separately, and it's time for us to come together and hash out, and it'll be a face-to-face, and that will close out the gender wars, because I really want to focus on finance in the Black community, which is the next installment. That's all I have for today, man. All of your thoughts were greatly appreciated. For those of you who are still in the chat, please be sure to click that like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Until next time, be sure to keep an open mind, think for yourself, and stay lit. AK on fire.
Babe, when I saw you for the first time, I knew we were destined to meet. 'Cause my knees went weak, my stomach went tight. Stay there, don't leave. Pull myself together, babe, I'm so shy. Trying to find something to say. Whatever I say needs to be right to you, my way. Damn, I feel trapped, 'cause now you're everything I see. One look was all that it took. Then you left your mark on me. Now I got everything to lose, 'cause you're the only one I choose. 'Cause no one makes me feel the way you do. The way you turn me on. Kiss me, babe, I want you to. My lonely days are gonna go anywhere with you. I'll go anywhere with you. Let go of fear, make that move right now. Don't let this good thing pass you by. Give in to feelings hidden inside. Stay there, don't leave. Damn, I feel trapped, 'cause now you're everything I see. One look was all that it took.